Alright, welcome back people, welcome back, happy Thursday everyone, how you doing? Hope you're having a great Thursday, and today, since yesterday I could only play 3 hours of Drakensang Online, we'll play Drakensang Online again. We'll do that, because we have a lot of topics of analysis, to deal with, indeed. Hello, Patrick. How you doing? How you doing? Hopefully, today I have. First of all, I didn't reply to one of your comments yesterday about my favorite book. My favorite book is Ender's Game. I don't know if you probably. It's not that popular in Europe, but in the US. So you asked, I think then I watched the comments and I said, well, there's a question that I didn't reply to that yesterday. So yeah, my favorite book is Ender's Game. Ender's Game. It's a psychological representation of American military tactics, basically. Basically, a lot of people. It won several awards. It's science fiction, like Star Wars. So there you have that. I watched. I looked at the comments and I said, and among so many like across the whole stream, I said I skipped that one. So yeah, sorry. This flu that I have, it doesn't allow me to be at optimal performance, I guess. Oh well, people. Oh well. And second, besides that, I have. Sorry, I'm very picky with. I'm a very picky eater in books. KW, know it. Well, if you like science fiction, my favorite book of all time is science fiction. Is Ender's Game. Then of course, the first one I like the first one of Sherlock Holmes, and the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is also one of my favorites. Any of those, you can go wrong with them. So regarding the other thing, because you told me about hardships and those things, I can tell you, for example, I wanted to show you that even if you have money, you can have problems in life. I didn't have time yesterday, but basically I can do that with the history of my country. Just so you see that you may have money and you can still cause. My type is leaning towards psychology more, or career building. Fictionals are not for me. Alright, perfectly respectable. You like more professional like books. Then I would read, I don't know. Well, but maybe you don't like history because psychology oriented, you said. Yeah, in that sense, I like more historical based or science fiction. In that sense, I generally don't like. Okay, but just so you see that you can still have problems even if you have money. I can tell you with the history of my country, precisely. I wanted to tell it to you just so you see that even if you have. Yep, I usually skip history or sum it up with AAM when I'm reading books, but you don't like history. Okay. But I wanted to tell you that just so you see that even with money you can have a problem. For example, as I think I told you and some others on stream sometimes, basically the history of my great of my great grandparent, basically, just so you have an idea. just so you have an idea. Uh, right now, right now, right now, it is true what I told you. I think it was you and Flying Energy several streams ago. That yes, my bloodline, my family is like middle to upper class. Okay, but for that to happen, first, can you press S and show your wisdom tree, please? Yeah, sure. Just I think I haven't distributed anything. Flying Energies told me this one and yeah, this one basically. This one, the critical and the value. Oh, horrible! Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't spent my points. Yeah, I haven't spent my points. Yeah, yeah. I haven't spent my points. Yes, yes. It's like that. It's like that. It's like that. I will need to spend my points here then here. Yeah, yeah. Put points to HP half and put one on one-handed weapon damage weapon. So put points to HP. This one. You sure? Okay. Up to half. Yeah, half 100. Like this. Like half and half. Basically. Raw HP damage is more useful. Maybe. Yeah, this. Okay. I get it. Because you survive better because you're squishy as a mage. Probably that's the line of reasoning. Like that. 11 and 11. That's right. Yeah. Like the build I was using was for kind of like endgame, something like that, more or less. The thing is that the crit is multiplicative. This one seems to be linear. The thing is that yeah, you survive more. So basically, basically, here we go. Seems to be working a bit better. At least I won't get killed that easily, I guess. How much health do I have? 69k? 69k? My guardian there. I'm doing the main quests also with the mage, and I have like 450, sorry, 400, 4,500 damage, or 4,500 damage, as a level 36 mage with good wisdom. Okay, okay. So you haven't left the game. No, I was going to comment you, just so, just so you see, just so you see that even if someone may have money, they still have problems because you mentioned that to me as hardships and those things. I wanted to tell you more or less that there can be other circumstances that can cause issues like that. For example, very briefly, just so you have an idea, out of my four great grandpas, one was a Syrian, right? One was Syrian, okay? I had two Italian, one Spaniard, one Syrian. The Syrian one was kind of like also a rich merchant in Syria before World War One, I'm telling you. But just so you see as an example, he was rich, right? More than me, more than than a lot of people in that sense. And when World War One broke out, he was sent to the front line by the despotic Islamic regime. Okay, So he had to go to World War One, survive. I'm in the same page with you. Money is a tool for me to buy more time. Indeed. Well, but just to have an idea, he was sent to the front line, and he had to survive. He survived, and when he could escape as a stowaway in a boat and come here to Argentina, then he came to a country, Argentina, that due to socialist governments, we've had like 5 bankruptcies of the state, right? So, just so you see that even if you are born in a, let's say, semi-rich family and whatever, then the framework of the context of life can also be against the person in that sense. Just to have an idea, my country has always been economically unstable. So, so yes, just so you have an idea, due to crazy social spending of the state by the socialist government, we the country bankrupted 5 times. So, and we got to 17,000% inflation. So just so you see that even with money, you can have other problems. Just in case, I wanted to tell you that. So, as you can see, you can go through hardships even with money in your pocket. That's the thing. Okay, just wanted to tell you that I couldn't from last time. Okay, people. Okay, people. Let's get into the topic of analysis of today. Today I wanted to analyze the physics and the graphics of the game. Whoa, with my wisdom build, your HP bar doesn't move. They don't kill me. Is it that good? Let's see. I haven't been paying attention. Yep, it doesn't move. Whoa. It is true. There it moved a bit. Almost. It is true. Nice build, Patrick. Thank you. It was quite good. Quite good. Regarding the topic of analysis of the... It is quite good, huh? Maybe with this they won't be able to kill me anymore. Okay. We had to speak to the cat woman, something like that. It's incredible how a bit of HP can make a whole lot of difference. Generally, what you do in these games is increasing your resistances rather than your health. But here you enhance your health. I deal a bit less of damage because of the crit, but still. By the way, people, it doesn't matter. I will finish the game. I know that District told me the other day that it can take a lot. I am finishing the story of the game and everything. It doesn't matter how much it takes. Remember that Sacred 2 took 1 year and I even finished it no problem whatsoever. For today, the topic of analysis that I wanted to take care of was the graphics of the game. As you can read, that I didn't do yesterday because I ran out of time because my throat was absolutely killing me in that sense. The first thing that I wanted to mention is a direct comparison with the context of the 7th generation in which the game was released. As I said countless times, Diablo 2, in the context of 2D graphics, had left a void so huge, Hey, it looks like we made it to another town. Had left a void so huge that the transition to 3D graphics. There it is. This one? Oh, smooth skin mountain in her corruption has begun to poison the lands of Atena. Lor'Tac is the heart of the world. Secure the area in front of the village. Perfect, we are progressing. Bless you in stranger, offering the fruit of our tyrant. I have forgotten about us. Perfect, perfect. Slave 20 enemies. Let's go. So, the context of the 7th generation, Diablo 2 had left a void as it was the last swan song of 2D isometric action RPG games. Now, there was a period of transition. In which games like Loki or The Hand of God tried to create a 3D isometric action RPG like this one. And then in that context, this game was released. Now, the first thing that I wanted to highlight was the physics of Drakensang Online. Look at this. If I leave my character like this, trying to get through the mobs, it doesn't walk through them. Now, you must be thinking that is something stupid and irrelevant. It is not. It is the main source of the difficulty because it allows enemies to surround and kill you. Alright? And you must be, well, that's extremely obvious, Eraser. There's no point analyzing that aspect of the physics of the game. Yes, because if you think about something, let's use a popular example like World of Warcraft. What happens with the physics in World of Warcraft? Well, basically, in World of Warcraft, you can walk through enemies. You really aren't surrounded and killed. You are killed by the raw damage input of the mob. The source of the difficulty is different, so it affects the gameplay mechanics in a different way. In this game, the physics have their own entity. It's a relationship between the graphics and the gameplay mechanics. The physics of the game have an entity, as my first talking point regarding the graphics, and that is a highly positive trait. Why? Because it allows, we killed everyone here, yeah, it was simple. It was that simple? Okay. So, the fact that physics have their own entity allow the player to be surrounded and killed, right? And that is important because it creates an alternative source of difficulty compared to the raw damage input of the mobs. Okay, that is for my first talking point. As for the second talking point, I must say that the game was released in a convoluted period in the transition from 2D to 3D because of what I said earlier, because Diablo 2 had left a huge void behind in which the point and click system, pointing and clicking like this, really only worked in 2D games. 3D games didn't have a proper point and click system in that sense in the early 2000s. You can see that in, for example, in Titan Quest, that I'm generally playing on Thursdays, not today because I couldn't stream enough of Drakensang Online as I'd like. You could see that there are misclicks. You can have misclicks in all of those games, in that sense. That's because the transition from 2D to 3D, the historical context, affected games in several genres. One of them is the RTS genre, the real-time strategy genre, in which the pathfinding of the units was terrible at the beginning. Think about something like Warcraft 3. The pathfinding is terrible even if the game is amazing, in that sense. We destroyed the totems. So, it was released in a very convoluted period of time. I must say that for the time period in which this game was released, really, the point and click system is pretty well done, and the physics are properly applied in that sense. They are properly applied. It feels so smooth to point and click in the game. There are few misclicks at all, so we could say that the physics and the pathfinding of it are properly designed. In terms of the graphical quality and effects, it is absolutely true that they must have updated the graphics by now of this game. You know, online games are constantly updating their graphics and everything. But I wanted to highlight that the special effects are good. They could be a bit better. Even more considering that it's an online game that received constant updates. And what I will tell you is that in a direct comparison, for example, with Path of Exile, it is true that the impact animations of the attacks could have been better specifically, is what I mean. For example, with Path of Exile, every time any projectile impacts on an enemy, is quite amazing and impactful. It's impactful. You can feel a direct psychological representation of what the icons of the abilities convey, represented in the animation of the game when the attack is executed, for example. Just so you have an idea. Why is this important? Why are the impact physics of the animations important for a game? I wanted to get into this as reviewers generally don't pay a lot of attention to this. Why is it important? Because the mental process of the player is the opposite. First, we picture how the attack is going to look like psychologically in our minds, and then we verify the correlation between the icon that we are selecting and the execution of the animation only happens finally by the end of it. So that correlation, maintaining that correlation between mental projection of the player, icon representation of the ability, and final animation execution of the very same icon is the key to having impactful animations, right? As you can see, as I always tell you people, we cannot define things in relative terms. We have to define them in absolute terms, in that sense. Because otherwise then we don't have any definition at all of the things that we precisely talk about. So the idea is that maintaining that correlation between the three elements, the mental projection of the player, the icon representation of the ability, and the final animation execution, maintaining that correlation is what will determine if the game has impactful animations or not. Correct? So, does the game have impactful animations? I would say that they're average. They are definitely there, the impact animations are there, but for example, in the case of Titan Quest, sorry people, it's just that my throat kills me in a lot of cases. But just so you have an idea, in Titan Quest, for example, there's like that sound of swords when it impacts the enemy. Or for example, the classic example of this is Gears of War, in which there's a splash of blood whenever whenever you hit one of the locusts or whatever. Now, considering it, making the comparison in the isometric action RPG genre, I would cite as a great example Path of Exile. Why? Because Path of Exile, every time you hit an enemy, the degree of efficiency in the representation of the psychological projection of the player of the animation, the representation of the animation, is perfect. Is perfect in Path of Exile. They kind of like splash in blood, and it feels perfectly impactful. Okay, so my second talking point is maintaining that correlation regarding the physics. Then, the graphical effects themselves, I would say they are quite good for 2010, by the time this game was released. But as I've said, the most important part is maintaining that correlation between those three elements. When we talk about how impactful the animations of the attacks are for the player, it's first the psychological mental projection of the player happens, then you see the representation of the spells on the icons there, on the ability bars of the player, and then the final animation that represents those icons that also has to correlate with the initial mental projection of the player when choosing to use the ability. Okay, so I would say the second condition of this correlation is properly executed. The abilities correlate with the icons 100%. They are properly represented, and I know this may sound stupid, but there are games in which the abilities do not match the potential representation of the power of the icons that the player is given, for example, and because of that, indeed, that was properly executed. Now, third talking point. The graphics themselves, we are talking about the resolution and frame rate of the game. I will have one thing to say. First, I don't like that the game only plays actually in full screen windowed. Like here you can see people. I don't like that I cannot select well, here it says improved full screen quality, but it's still borderless because otherwise I wouldn't be able to move my mouse out of it. That's why they did this like semi full screen, but I don't like that it isn't kind of like real full screen in that sense. So that's one thing. Then the frame rate is they follow the solution of classic South Korean MMORPG, similar to Mu Online, in that sense that it's the same, that is meant to be played, I don't know, windowed, and you don't have full screen as well. And then in terms of the frame rate, I actually haven't checked it, but I thought it was unlocked. Yeah, it is absolutely unlocked, which is a feat. It's unlocked. It's running at 144, for example, here. You are watching it at 60 because Twitch doesn't allow more than 60, but it's still smoother. It's still smoother than if my monitor was only 60. In that sense, you are getting kind of like a softened version, let's say. An adapted version of 144. It's not real 144, but you are getting a 60, 144 downsampled to 60. Okay, so the fact that a game from 2010 was thought out as to have an unlocked frame rate and unlocked resolution, those are quite positive things. In that sense, it was properly updated, positive aspect. And as for the rest of the graphics, I think I would then need to, as my fourth talking point, mention the ambience that is properly executed. I would have added a bit more of bloom, a bit more of bloom. I would say the game needs a bit more of bloom that they can add it. For example, to Star Wars: The Old Republic, they've added better bloom, as older games didn't have that. Bloom is the sources of light, people. More sources of light. So I would have added those. A bit more of bloom. Do I have any other main quests? No, they are all side quests, side quests, side quests. No, we're good to go. Let's go. So I would have added more bloom, more sources of bloom. As for the rest, the textures scale well for 2010. They scale well. I would have added a bit more complex. It has a lot of complex geometry, that's for sure. It has a lot of vegetation in all of the zones. What I would have added is better textures for the human faces themselves. That's the thing. I think the textures for the human faces could have been a bit more polished, to be a bit more detailed in that sense, the textures. I know it's from 2010. I am taking that into account. I'm taking that into account, people. It's not that I'm judging it with a modern standard. That's something that we should never do. Judge older games with a modern standard. But even back then, I can cite you that Titan Quest, for example, it scaled the textures much better in the faces. Like here, I think in the selection screen when I created the character also, there weren't many variations to choose from in that sense. I would cite those as kind of like small defects that I found within the graphics. But the most important point, as I've said, the correlation between the psychological projection of the player, the icon representation, and the final animation execution of the ability, the triple correlation between those three elements is properly executed. Could it have been better? Yes. For example, especially with the fireball, if I had to mention one aspect, now that we've already covered the gameplay mechanics, the level design, and the rest of the aspects, in that sense, the graphics is a minor defect that I can highlight. But basically, I would have added more bloom and better textures for the fireball. For example, I will show you the fireball for some seconds deliberately, just so you see what I mean. Here. See that you can actually, if you focus your sight on the ball itself, you can see it. Like, you can see a round object, right? You can see a round object. Okay. In a lot of games, in a lot of isometric action RPG games, they simply make that a concentrated bloom source. That is a concentrated source of light, and that makes the animation feel more natural. For example, you can see it perfectly in World of Warcraft. You know that as I always tell you, I played offline in my own on my own offline server. In that sense, in my own offline server, and I installed a mod, for example, which updates the texture of the fireball precisely, and you can perfectly tell the difference. Here, for example, in this torch, you can also see the difference. See that it's a single source of bloom? See that it has no shape? Right? It has no shape. Okay, this, imagine if the fireball was like this bloom source without the 3D object of having the 3D round object being used as the tip of the fireball, right? It would feel much more natural. Imagine this flame with simply with the shape of a line being shot at the enemy. It would feel much more natural. The fact that a round thing that rolls in the direction of the enemy, it destroys the representation of that spell, for example. And like that, there are some other 3D models that I would complain about, but they are minor flaws in that sense, in terms of the physics representation in the game. As for the rest, the icons of the spells properly represent the psychological impact of the abilities that the player is executing. In that sense, they did a good job. But as I've said, I really don't like that. I will show it once again, just so I make my point, people, even if I deal less damage. Though thanks to your build, Patrick, they won't kill, they are not even able to kill me easily. Look at that. I want you to pay attention to that. See how we can notice if I target distant enemies, a round 3D object rolling towards the enemy, right? See that we can spot it. I'll do it a bit more so you see it, because with all of the things going on, maybe you don't see it. See that there's a round object rolling. Okay. That is a terrible technique, even for 2010, to do a 3D representation of the fireball in that sense. Hey, Pekaren, how you doing? Ah, sorry, you had talked, sorry. Sorry, you had also talked, Patrick, sorry. Pekaren, how you doing? Patrick, if they change the OG animation of the spells, I'm deleting this shit. The only holding power of the game that is torturing me in nostalgia. No, well, Patrick, but I have to highlight the mistakes. How you doing, Pekaren? I have to highlight the mistakes, Patrick. Consider that there are games that the 3D object rolling, I know that is for nostalgia purposes, but it's not good. How are you, Pekaren? It warms my heart that you visit the stream again. I missed you as well. In that sense. I had a flu, that's why I couldn't. Can I ask you about particular game genre? Sure, Pekaren, fire away. Patrick, just in case you don't know, this is Pekaren. He's an old viewer of the channel that I hadn't seen in a year, and he returned the other day. He has a collection of consoles, so we also discuss about gaming consoles. Regarding the animations, sure, Pekaren, ask away. Any genre except for survival horror and generally, I don't know, battle royale things like Fortnite. I know most of them. Well, depends on the console, I guess. Sure, fire away, Pekaren, fire away. Did you watch Gamescom? Did you watch the Gamescom with our friend Jeff Keighley? What about beat 'em ups? Ah, yeah, I remember you liked beat 'em ups from the 80s, I think. Yes, I know some. Yes, what, you want me to... And current state of the genre? Well, yes, I know where it's going. I feel like it's going the way of my beloved RTS genre. And your favorites, okay. Current state plus favorites. Okay, to wrap it up about the animations, Patrick, I had to highlight it because it's a defect. I understand that you have nostalgia for the animations and everything, but yeah, a 3D model rolling like that on the air is not what I would have done. I would have created a bloom source like this one, ethereal, without the 3D object rolling, and instead give it the shape of a line. In World of Warcraft, in a modder did this. It replaced the 3D model of the fireball that did the same, but World of Warcraft was from 2004, not 2010 like this one, so there's a difference of years to justify it. And he just removed the 3D object and gave the bloom source the shape of a fireball, and it feels extremely natural. Okay, beat 'em up genre, current state of the genre, and my favorites. Okay, can I... Well, for modern ones, then I will minimize the game for a second. Current state. The first thing, people. The beat-em up genre, for those of you who in case are watching this as a YouTube VOD and don't know, it's basically a classic genre from the 90s that we used to play back in arcade machines. It means going from left to right in a 2D environment, just beating up people to basically save your girlfriend. Generally, that's the that's the basic premise of Double Dragon, of most of them. It was basically that your girl was kidnapped. That is a divine element that has to always be in a beat 'em up. Okay, current state of the genre. I think that it is impossible to ignore first the current that Dotemu is the king of this genre right now. Dotemu, for those of you who don't know, Dotemu, Lizard, Cube, I think they use several companies to publish them, I don't know. Basically the guys who did Battletoads, Streets of Rage 4, modern incarnations of old beat 'em up series from the 90s. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kawabanga collection, several others. They are basically the kings of the genre. What worries me, or the new Power Rangers, Dino Power, whatever, is pretty much the same. They are like inheriting the spirit of Golden Axe. They're inheriting the spirit of old Streets of Rage, Double Dragon, the other one, the River City Ransom series, River City series as well. By the way, you have River City Tokyo is still exclusive to the 3DS. So, I think there's a domination, the current, of that company over the rest. And I spot a huge danger there, because if the trend keeps like this, it will be like the RTS genre, my beloved RTS genre that I love so much, but that right now it has Age of Empires 2 and no new things about it. The beat 'em up genre is a classic genre that went from being semi-dead to now be dominated by a single company in the quality of the games that are released for it. Okay, as for the current state, I think that Dotemu is like above pretty much the rest of them, and I think that's sad because it can create the black hole theory of the RTS genre, in which Age of Empires, StarCraft, and I don't know, Warcraft, they are like black holes that absorb all of the rest, and then we don't get new ideas. And why do I see this? Because of what I'm going to show you. Where's the... How can I minimize this shit for a second? It was more or less over here. Minimize the screen. Here, this one. This little button here. My bad. Here, this one. Here, I will show you... I hope I don't get killed. Hang on. I will show you. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I will show you, Pekarin, that not so long ago, the genre had a bit more of variety. It had a bit more of variety. For example, where did I have it? Okay, here. Here, beat 'em up. So, if they would stop attacking me for a second there, I would thank you. There we go. Here, let me teleport to town so I can make my point and then show you. Oh, idiots. But as I will show you, the beat 'em up genre had much more variety in the 7th generation. Think about the Xbox 360 and those. Well, for example, here, Dotemu, the ones that are remaking all of the beat 'em ups right now. We have Battletoads, Streets of Rage 4, the Kawabanga Collection, the Shredder's Revenge. Okay, those are like the modern things that they developed in that sense. Okay, then we have back in the 7th generation, during the Xbox 360, we have Dungeons & Dragons Chronicles of Mystara, the remake. We have, where was it? Here, the Rival City Showdown, Fight and Rage, Shank 2, Sacred Citadel, Zeros, Dungeon Punks, Viking Squad, Wolverblade, Moonfall Ultimate, Shaq Fu Reborn, The Takeover. Well, this one is a remake of a GBA game. Shing, Nine Monkeys of Shaolin, Mayhem Brawler. These are other ones up until here. This one is Eon Must Die is amazing. It's from 2015. This one is a bit more modern. Okay, so as you can see, we had a lot of indie variation. These ones are a bit more modern. These ones are like remake collections of older ones. But as you can see now, we really have these four. We really have these four, and then the bundles and the collections. Okay, so as for the modern state, I would say that there's less variety among indie titles, more quality regarding those AAA ones that revived that we didn't have them back then. Now, and my favorites. As for my favorites, I would say how many HDDs, SSDs you have? Mind blown. No, no. I have them like I have two, two of 10 terabytes, two, two of 10 terabytes. That's it. And one of 2 terabytes to 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 hold the operating system. 2 of 10 terabytes basically. 2 of 10 terabytes. 2. Only 2 basically. 2, only 2. Only 2 in that sense. And the other question was my favorite ones. My favorite ones are the ones that combine with RPG mechanics, like the River City series for the 3DS or for PC. That combine with RPG aspects, it gives an amount of replayability that normally the genre doesn't have, and I think it's a quite smooth combination in that sense. Sega recently kinda trying to resurrect their old brands, New Streets of Rage, not far from Dotemu, they making a new one, and Golden Axe are coming in the next 4 or 5 years. Yeah, and the new Shinobi they are going for. Yeah, they realize that it's what they should be doing. In that sense, quite good, quite good. So pretty much. I think it's the genre is leaning a bit more towards classics, remembering the classics rather than new ideas. I think that's not good because they can suffer the same fate as the risk is suffering the same fate as the real-time strategy genre, in which people play 1 or 2 games and then the other ones in the genre are ignored. And I could more or less show you the tendency. Like back in the 7th generation, we had a lot of indie and AA beat 'em ups, and now we have like all remakes of the Sega ones. As I said, they are also going for Shinobi remake. They are going for a lot of remakes. But yeah, I see that the genre is kind of like becoming a bit stagnant. I don't know what you think, Pekarin. I don't know what you think. And as for favorite ones, as I've said, the ones that the River City series that combines it with RPG elements as classics in general. For example, there's one in the 3DS that is extremely obscure, which is River City Knights of Justice. That is like an open world 3D. It's like an open world beat 'em up in that sense. Then there's a quite forgotten one that is like Dark Souls from Arc System Works. It was Souls and Darkness, Blades and Darkness, something like that. On the 3D, that they are quite obscure and they are like open world in that sense. Say open world, inside scrolling from left to right. But yeah, so River City Knights of Justice on the 3DS, that one is like Skyrim and a beat 'em up. So now those ones are the ones that I like. As for the rest, my favorite classic one is the this one will be quite weird. Is the Electronic Arts Battletoads arcade that you can play in MAME in that sense. That one, not the classic Battletoads that combine with a bit of platforming. I like that is pure beat 'em up. The Electronic Arts arcade of Battletoads. It would be one that I love a lot in that sense. Uh, I like that is more kind of like, as I said, the classic beat 'em up rather than combining with platforming sections. So yeah, for classic ones, I think that one has the most personality for me. I like that the kicks of the Battletoads, but then there's many more. I bet you love Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Golden Axe, of course, Streets of Rage, um, Dungeons and Dragons Chronicles. They are remaking He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, I think, in Gamescom. Did you watch the Gamescom? I was commenting it with another viewer that the Gamescom had given us some good news. Dawn of War 1 remastered, Dawn of War 4 for RTS fans. It was a prolific event. Then Darksiders 4 was announced some days before it. And the only bad thing, as I always say about the Gamescom and these events, is Jeff Keighley. I'm sorry, Jeff Keighley is like that. The Doritos guy is he's it's terrible. It's terrible. That guy. It's incredible how a person so mediocre in terms of, because it's evident he doesn't like playing games. It is evident to anyone watching. It's incredible that he gets all of the presentations. Then after that, I watched the. I don't know if you watched that. There's a new Kirby Air Ride. There's a new Kirby Air Ride. Kirby Air Ride 2. And I watched the creator of Smash Brothers played Sakurai. I watched him play it and showcase the game and play his own game very well at a quite high speed, and then and he presented everything and etc. And he explained the controls and played one lap of the circuit and compare that to the to the Doritos guy, and it's absolutely an insult. I'm trying to make a beat 'em up with roguelike RPG element. You are developing a game, and you develop games, Pekaran, and searching for some inspiration, hoping it takes at least 2-3 years for the prototype, with 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay. Yes, I know it's an unattainable dream, but wish me luck. Anyway, Lul, no, I wish you luck. You Dawn of War 4 though. No, I wish you luck. I didn't know you develop games. Then you are a software developer of games. I develop software for websites, not for games. A software developer of games. Oh, that's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I didn't know that. You never told me. No, you develop those games. Yeah, I would say that in terms of beat 'em ups, as I said, the problem I would say is the replayability that they have. Is that you play once and you don't have any randomized elements, like in the ones that I mentioned, to precisely add that that replayability to the gameplay mechanics. So not at all. It's a hobby for my past. Ah, okay. Okay. You do it like a hobby. Okay. Okay. I get it. Okay, I get it. No, it's like a hobby. Okay, okay. All right, all right. And only by taking it up as a hobby you can learn how to do things. that's that's absolutely amazing. Yeah. That's absolutely amazing in that sense. So, yeah, wish you all the luck in the world. I would say to look at if you're looking for inspiration, RPG and roguelike elements. Well, I would recommend you that one. River City Knights of Justice on the 3DS. That one will that one will give you the inspiration of what you are looking for. It's a quite obscure game, and not many people have copied that formula. And Swords and Darkness as well on the 3DS. Sorry, you know that I'm a lover. Yeah, it's good. Need to revisit. You play the Knights of Justice on the 3DS. Well, now I have news for you. We are the only two people who did so. So yeah, pretty much. And I didn't even finish it in that sense. I didn't even finish it, but I just had to go to law school. Well, what are you gonna do, people? But yeah. I remember it being absolutely amazing. And Swords and Darkness, it was? Swords and Darkness also on the 3D. You know that I love the 3DS. But in that sense, those were absolutely brilliant. It will be a perfect source of inspiration for the roguelike RPG elements in that sense. Ring a bell. Also, the old gods have fallen from grace in that sense. So yeah. I would recommend those for the inspiration, without a doubt. So yeah, I remember you told me you liked beat 'em ups from the 80s. From the 80s, the one that as I've said, that I loved was the Battletoads arcade machine by Electronic Arts. Because I think it was the purest idea of Battletoads rather than the platformer that then we got on consoles in that sense. I think it was a more pure idea of what they were originally trying to do, and then the consoles, I think it limited a bit. They limited it a bit in that sense. Contrary to popular belief, I like the modern incarnation of Battletoads. I like it. I don't like the graphics that they did. The style, not the graphics. The resolution looks amazing. The style of the Toads, they should have kept the old designs. Same goes for Donkey Kong. What they did using the model of the movie, I don't like it when they change the models. Yeah, pretty much. So I was watching the presentation of Kirby Air Ride 2. I was watching the presentation of Kirby Air Ride 2. Enter the Oceanus Opal Shrine and look for the protector of the Opal Shrine. Seems easy enough, people. Then we have to do this one first. Is it on the same map? Yeah, it's on the same map. Let's do that one first. So I was watching the presentation with Sakurai playing Kirby Air Ride. That's what I would do. I was commenting it yesterday to District, another viewer. That's what I would do. That's what I would do, people. I would force game developers to play the game like Sakurai does, like live, like on stage. They used to do it, huh? They used to do it. They used to do it generally, and you could see the flaws. For example, sometimes the game would crash or some shit because it was a prototype, and you could see the person playing the game. I would make, for example, as I said, the director of World of Warcraft play the game, show us her rotation, for example, on stage, like that, like Sakurai does when he presents a game. I would do it like that. Eraser, that's so fucking cruel. How would you do that? How would you do that? Well, to see if they actually play the fucking game that they are trying to sell us. If they fucking play it, like Sakurai does, in that sense. In that sense, I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. If anyone is watching this as a YouTube bot, the creator of Smash Brothers, uh, Masashiro Sakurai, um, that he's doing Kirby right too. Okay, so just so you have an idea, just so you have an idea, when he presents a new game, he plays it. He plays it. He shows you the controls as he presents the game when he starts playing. Basically, that's the idea. So, for example, I see the new director of Blizzard, and presentation was top notch, but I never understand the air riders concept. You haven't played the Kirby air rides? Well, it's like the brother of F-Zero GX. My bad, not for me. No. But you like F-Zero GX. Now, if you like the F-Zero GX Pekarin, you have to like air ride. It was like developed under the same philosophy to compete with it. If you like the F-Zero GX. You watch the presentation, yeah, then you can see it's quite similar to F-Zero GX. What difference would you find with F-Zero GX as to like F-Zero GX and not Air Rides? If they are so similar, they are so incredibly similar. GameCube version Air Riders, no, they are real. Yes, the original one. It was only for GameCube. Yes, now they are releasing a new one of the presentation. The second one. It's quite similar. The arcade controls, the fact that you accelerate so fast, like not in, let's say, car speeds, in a comparison, that is more arcadey. Yes, the GameCube one of Air Riders, it was like so similar to F-Zero GX that I don't know how. Well, maybe if you played a lot of F-Zero and you become a fan of F-Zero GX, then any variation can feel different, but they are quite similar. They are quite similar. and this new version seems to flesh out all of the rough elements of the GameCube release. So, what the fuck was that? All of the elements of the GameCube release. So yeah. Don't you find them similar? I never thought about it. It seemed like completely different things for me. They seem completely different. They seem completely different. Really? Oh well. I find them quite similar. Like both arcadey, like both anti-gravity. Both of them are anti-gravity. Like you are not drawing, you're not driving. Sorry, the flu is starting to affect my head. You are not driving like normal car physics in that sense. And yeah, the sharp turns are quite similar. At least for me, when I played both of them, the sharp turns and speed seemed quite similar. But at any rate, this new release seems quite fleshed out compared to the other ones. Maybe I'll try the GameCube one. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't see how it's not somehow similar. The same goes for another one. Well, this was a shitty release. It doesn't have the quality of these two, but in terms of being similar gameplay, Sonic Riders on the Wii. was also anti-gravity, tried to do the concept, then the controls are a piece of shit, so that's absolute shit, but in the case of Air Riders it's much Air Ride, sorry. Put together the five on the workbench. Shit. To hell with, I'm not going to the workbench now. Let's keep killing. So in that sense they tried to do something similar to what Sega did with F. You know that F-Zero GX was actually developed by Sega, if I'm not mistaken. It was developed by Sega, but then it was published by Nintendo. It was an internal development studio of Sega, if I'm not mistaken. F-Zero GX. It had to be like an arcade machine. In that sense, you know that there's also. Yep, yeah, it's like that. If my memory serves me right, well, you confirm it to me, but it was like that. It had to be like an arcade machine. In that sense, you know that there's Mario Kart GX, like an arcade machine. It's just that we don't get those things here, here in the Americas, in Europe, and outside of Japan, pretty much. Yep, times two. Mario Kart GX. It's just that we don't get those things. They're all in Japan. In that sense, I don't know if in your countries you have it, people, but generally they get Mario Kart GX. They get a lot of interesting arcade machines. You can play them on your PC though. You can play them on your PC. I think I have Mario Kart GX here on my PC. I remember I remember I found a way for it to work. It was with Techno Parrot. With Techno Parrot, you can play Mario Kart GX, for example. But there are a lot of amazing games. For example, I remember wanting to get Techno Parrot, not for that one, but for Storm Racer G. I don't know if anyone has played Storm Racer G. This is so fucking obscure. People must be googling this as they watch the YouTube. But Storm Racer G. Crowbar! No! Hello, Crowbar! Yo, how you doing? I missed you so much. You visiting the streams, Crowbar. I miss you so much. Love from the bottom of my heart. I miss you so much that you probably watched them as bots. No goddamn way. You saying Storm Racer? Gee, yes, I love that game. I can play it on my PC. I got the emulator just to play Storm Racer G. I fell in love with that game the second I saw it running. Crowbar. No, no, it warms my heart that after a year you also remember the stream. As in the arcade machine? Yes, 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 yes. I can show it too, yeah. It only runs at 720p at the native resolution. They haven't found a way to upscale the resolution, so it looks blurry on my 1440p screen, but I can show it to you if you'd like by the end of the stream. Would you? I think I have everything configured so you can see it. I think. I think. I think. I think. Hell yes! I remember. No, thank you. You can play 3D arcade games on PC. Well, my knowledge about emulator was yes, yes, you can. Yes, it's not that easy, but you can. You can, for example, I beat. I think you two discovered the stream. You two discovered the stream when I was playing Sacred 2. The thing was that it was so big, the game, that it was at different continents. Pekaren, yeah, arcade emulator can play yes, for sure. Pekaren, this is a Crowbar, also a fine gentleman, a fine Irish gentleman that he also visited the stream 1 year before, like you. In that sense, you never met back when I played Sacred 2. I thought it is only for 2D. No, 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 you can then I can show you too that you can then I can leave you to a Discord things that yeah, it's not easy, but you can love it. No, yes, Crowbar, I miss you a lot, both of you from last year. It's absolutely whenever that happens, then it's not it's with you too is the second time it happens to me. I have also Keiichi over at Discord. Cool, cool, says Pekaren. Pekaren loves beat 'em ups instead. Crowbar, well, miss you a lot, Crowbar. As well as Pekaren. When because it's like you must get it, people. It's like meeting back high school friends that you haven't seen for a lot of years. Like I told you last time, Karen, playing Titan Quest. It's like that. It's like that. It's like that. Yes, it's like that, and it's a quite special feeling in that sense. It happened to me with Keiichi. Keiichi visited me. He's over at Discord. He's from Armenia, and he was one of my first viewers. I wasn't expecting it. Like when I had 5 followers, and with these niche games, it's so nice to find someone. Yes, 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 yes. It's this. It's what happened to me. That's why I started streaming them. Happened to me with Keiichi. He's from Armenia. He's over at Discord. He was like my 5th follower or something like that. Like very, very from the beginning. He visited me before the pandemic. Imagine before the pandemic, and then he joined the Discord like last year before I played Sacred 2 when I was playing the Lord of the Rings War in the North. Like 4 years after. Whenever that happens, it's amazing because I can at least verify that you are all alright and that you are still playing games and everything. So it's absolutely amazing. So, Crowbar, you told me Storm Racer G. Yes, it's playable. They with Technoparrot. You need to get Technoparrot. Is the emulator. With that, I will show you that you can do it. Then I can show you that you can do it. Technoparrot. The 3D arcade games, racing games precisely, and the best part is that you can play with a steering wheel. I honestly bought a steering wheel. I bought a Logitech G29, but I don't have room. Oh my god, you're right. Holy crap. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. With Technoparrot, you can do it. It's absolutely like that. I have a steering wheel. I have a Logitech. I bought a Logitech G29, but I have no room to use it. I have the wheel, and I have no room to use it. It's absolutely, absolutely terrible. Are tuned. Oh my, that's another one that I got. That's another one. Yes, 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 yes. That's another one that I can show you. Yeah, a Storm Racer G and are tuned. Then, don't know if any of you watched it because I think it was before you two discovered the stream. I beat the 60 laps endurance mode of a scud race on 3 circuits. I couldn't do normal and hard because no one was watching basically. No one was watching. No one. And I said the insane amount of effort to get to beat the 80 laps of a scud race, if no one is gonna watch, it's not worth it. But yeah, 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 it is good race. Crowbar, I don't know if you watched those because they are quite old bods. But if you like arcade racers, oh holy crap, the effort is insane. Yeah, 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 yeah. You have them here on Twitch as well. I think I recorded the 3 of them here as well. Yeah, 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 yeah. It was brutal because they are meant to be played with a steering wheel. They are meant to be played with a steering wheel, and I did them with a joystick. Terrible mistake. Now I have the steering wheel, but as I've said, I have no room to place it. Yep, same here. Bought a you got a Thirstmaster T300 just to keep it in a closet. See, it's what happens, people. It's what happens, people. Well, now we are brothers in pain. Oh, mate, I do the same with so many peripherals, says Crover. No, yeah, Lul. Yes, 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 it happened to me. I have it right there, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So we are brothers in pain, Pekarin. We are brothers in pain. We are brothers in pain. And you too, Crower. We are brothers in pain. If you have the peripherals, and you, I have no room. I honestly have no room to place it. I would need to, well, I will need to move to a different room of the house and not of the apartment, and I cannot do that in that sense. So yeah. Hey, I think all of this pool of acid is killing me continuously. I think it's not the mobs. Yes, it's a pool. All of the water is it's a pool of acid. Yes. It's like that. I have it like boxed. Still, I had to return it to the box. No, but well, Crowbar. By the way, I'm relieved and glad to see that that you are all right and doing fine. Because with all of the things that I talk about politics and shit, I take for granted that I offend a lot of people. So yeah. Pretty much, I'm glad that I don't offend people with those things, and at least not all of them, in that sense. So well, glad it warms my heart. Besides, as I said the other day, Pekarin, precisely here, also visited the stream again, and now it's absolutely amazing. It warms my heart. No, I'm pretty hard to offend. I'm very open-minded, mate. Ah, well, then it's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a miracle because nowadays people are not like that. So I take for granted that I offend a lot of people when I talk. That's why when they don't appear on stream for a lot of time, I take for granted that I offended someone. So yeah. Well, that's an absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I thank you always. And I thank you always for the unwavering support, especially, of course, you too, for because precisely more than a year, and that generally doesn't happen in channel. Listen, I think if you ever played these kinds of games, you gotta be of a certain mindset, right? Yeah. Quite old school crawler. Pekarin linked the remaster of Sacred 2 over at Discord. I don't know if I think you didn't have time to check it because I think you weren't online. They are remastering Sacred 2 because of the Gamescom. The Gamescom. Lul, yeah. I don't know if you saw it or not because you were offline, but Pekarin precisely here linked Sacred 2 remaster. And I spent wait what? Yeah, Sacred 2 remaster. It's over at the general channel in Discord. The, like a yeah. Yeah. Pekarin linked it. It's over at the main channel, over at Discord. Like a real Pekarin. No way. What? Yes. Pekarin linked it. Let me see. Can you? Well, maybe it's over at the main channel over at Discord. Otherwise, let me search it for you, so you don't think that we are two psychopaths telling you anything. Yeah, Pekarin here gave me the link. He's a genius. He gave me the link. I didn't know. He came. Hey, Secretary Master. As I was here. Give me a second. Give me a second because the links then they are spread the word, says Pekarin. Yeah, we'll spread the word. I'm spreading the word, Pekarin. But you are the genius who found it. Here, give me a sec, Crowbar, so you don't waste time searching for it. Anyways, you have it over at Discord. But here I'll link it to you. The problem is that where is it? Here. The problem is that because of the bot attack, I believe this is trolling until I see otherwise. Okay, don't worry. Yeah, I need you. I'm a lawyer. You need proof, of course. Otherwise, you don't have the alibi of the of the civil offense in that sense. Okay. Here, let me here. Lou, please buy and tell everyone, says Pekka. Pekarin wants Sacred 2 to revive. I bet you all enjoyed my psychopathic analysis of one whole year to... No way! No goddamn way! Well, I told you, I thought you had seen it. It was... Oh my god, I just found it on Discord. Here you have it over here. I thought you had seen it. I was in that because you were offline, I think, but Pekarin left it on the main channel here. He's the genius, not me. He found it. He also linked Titan Quest 2. How did I not see? It was over at the general channel, in that sense. Crowbar. I don't know. It was over at the general channel. Pekarin precisely linked it some days ago. Precisely. I have another news. If you are and carry on top, it, it developed by the same by Ascaron. Indeed, it is developed by Ascaron. They are going to redeem themselves. At least the key people. Well, I told the story over at my series, but basically, guys, it was like this. It was Ascaron absorbed after Sacred 2. A portion was absorbed in Deep Silver, I believe. It was another German developed, another studio. Oh, this looks surprisingly good, actually. I think they updated the physics. I spotted that they updated the physics to be at 60 FPS instead of 30, because while the frame rate was unlocked, the physics were still locked at 30 FPS. That's why it seemed a bit choppy. Without that, it doesn't look AI scaled, upscaled either. No. It's like an artisanal remaster that they are doing of the original game. The good thing is that maybe they will have the time to they will have the time to complete the zones that the original game didn't. They didn't promise that, but well. Wait, fixed and polished with our loyal community is very. They are incorporating. No, it's that they incorporated the community patch 1.6. It's that they incorporated that. The one that I have been showcasing, that I showcased in that fateful year that I spent playing, they incorporated the patch 1.6 into the game, so you don't have to do what I went through, and precisely uh, uh, install the community patch and suffer the crashes and everything that I went through. I mean, fair, I guess. But then the graphics. Hey, is this a joke? Then I have to ask District how to survive this. It's a constant poison. I'm pretty sure I'm not meant to go through here. At least not right now, like this. And controller support, at least for me. Yes. Pekarin wanted controller support because you were playing the PS3 version. You were playing the PS. By the way, people, you know that now you can mod any Xbox 360 without putting a chip in it. That's pretty cool, actually. Bringing it up to scratch with modern day standards is a good idea, to be honest. It's an absolutely fantastic action RPG, and it deserves this. Yes, without a doubt. I think I awarded few 10 out of 10s in the channel. One was for the predecessor of Mass Effect, for Advent Rising. I don't know if anyone here played Advent Rising or has ever seen it. It's the predecessor of Mass Effect, written by the author of Ender's Game, a quite famous, my favorite science fiction book, for example. But you need some arcade game for that. Rock Band something. Which one? For what? Rock Band something? It's an absolutely amazing RPG. What do you mean, Pekarin? That you need an arcade game for the Xbox 360 jailbreak? Okay. I don't know because mine was already chipped. It came chipped, both flashed and chipped. Jesus Christ, Eraser. Advent Rising. Can you stop making me feel like I'm an ancient being? Please, no. No, Crow. No, Crow. Don't say that. Don't say that. Lul. I played it on stream. I played it on stream, Crowbar. For the jailbreak, I don't know, but you no longer need to chip. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything. You basically just no. I don't think you need a specific game. No, 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 no. You can just do it without the 2006 man. 2000. But it's the period of time in which I was the most happy. I love the 90s and the early 2000s. I'm from 1995. I'm 29, Crowbar. So yeah. Advent Rising was like 5 years ago. Am I right? Campus spectacular. Advent Rising was 5 years exactly. No, no, no. I am 1991 model. Okay, okay, okay. So close, so close, so close, close, quite close, quite close. You're still. Um, they classify us as millennials, I think. I think they classify us like that. Who cares about that shit if your soul is young enough as to think that? No. We are the same generation. We are safe. uh, no, in my case, I still have. Well, I can make you feel even. Well, I wouldn't feel bad about that. We grew up in a quite amazing period of time. In a quite amazing period of time. Uh, Crowbar, the Karen. We grew up in that amazing period of time. Look at this. I still have my. Uh, if that one made you feel, if Advent Rising made you feel old, then what about this one? This one was my first console. I think so. We apparently love avocado on toast, and that's what ruins the world. Beautiful. This is my original Game Boy. I still have it. It still works except for the start button. Sadly, the start button it works, but I have to press like a lot. It's my original Game Boy. Bought it. My mom bought it used for me back then in the 90s because in my country it wasn't because of money. It's just that you couldn't get it like normally imported. I collect consoles and old video games, especially big box PC games like Metal Jesus. That's like Metal Jesus that he collects old big box PC games. You they're in Seattle, I think he was. They're in the US. And then this one I showed it to Pekarin the other day. This one, yes, this one is my Game Boy Advance. This one works perfectly. I replaced the. I'll put a pic in the Discord for yeah. Well, would love it, would love it. I love your looking at the collections. Then Pekarin also, if you like, you can. Here, I restored my original Arctic White Game Boy Advance. Now it has European backplate. It's an American Arctic White model. You can see it there in the numbers there. And I also added the Easy Flash Omega. The Easy Flash Omega, and it plays pretty much everything. It's an American Arctic White one, but it has now European faceplate in that sense. No, I honestly, in that sense, I got a lot. I got a lot of those consoles, but I always liked a bit more the digital ones. In that sense, the physical ones, like Game Boy Advance cartridges, original ones, have failed to save. They've stopped saving in a lot of cases, and it's not because of the battery, because supposedly they are not dependent on the battery. So yes, I would need to. The problem is that in Argentina, for example, the Game Boy, I have no one for it to repair it. But well, if I ever visit Europe, I will, I will make sure that I take my Game Boy and take it to a repair, to a repair store there. No, but Big box PC games are like the holy grail. I've never actually seen one, but I've always wanted to to have one. Done. Put it in the Great Hall of Analysis. Yeah, yeah, no worries. Use any channel. Then I'll check it out as soon as I as I finish. Sorry, people. This flu is killing me. You know that we're in the winter. That I'm in the winter right now. It's finishing. Finally, it's finishing. You will have the winter there in the northern hemisphere as a whole. You will be able to enjoy the flu and the colds of the winter as I finally get rid of it. So yeah, it's the opposite indeed. Indeed, it's the opposite. Okay, I appreciate that photo. I'll appreciate the photo a lot, Crowbar. As I see, I will keep it as a surprise once I finish the stream and eat something. As I eat something, I'll take a look at it and see it. The big box PC games, Pekarin, money. It's almost winter in the UK and it's just heat wave after heat wave. Yes. In that sense, uh, in that sense, the winter takes some time to take in. But here, at least, it was quite cold. But well, for me, cold. Here uh, we never get into negative temperatures in winter. It's more or less like the maximum we got to zero degrees Celsius. Pretty much 0 degrees Celsius. In that sense, it's what the maximum we get to. In that sense, it's the lowest point. So many quakes. You got earthquakes? No. There are no earthquakes where I am. Or quakes was another thing. Earthquake. Quake. About the game Quake. Okay. Quake is like Pekarin Crowbar is a fan of FPS games, of old school FPS games. He has tattoos of which one was it? Of Half-Life. If I remember correctly, your tattoos were about Half-Life. Uh, Crowbar. He loves Half-Life, Doom. He loved Doom. I remember he loves Doom. Uh, if I remember correctly, they were like that. Wait, what? Can I get through here? Yeah. Oh, I mean, the big ball. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I got it. I do have a tattoo in reference to Half-Life, Quake, and Fallout. He also has another one about Fallout. Okay, that one I didn't. He loves FPS games. He loves FPS games. Well, oof. I make Crowbar. I used to stream boomer shooters a lot a few years ago. Yes. I remember I checked one of his streams. He's a quite amazing guy. He used to play those very well. But my true love is honestly isometric. Really, Crowbar. You like isometric action RPG games like this a bit more than the FPS. Really? Oh, I got the impression that it was the other way around. Absolutely. You like Diablo clones a bit more. Okay. I have one that the level designer visited my stream. Not my stream. He was the level designer of the game from Austria. Avencast Rise of the Mage. 100% my favorites. Avencast Rise of the Mage? But I only see Nox there, says Pekarin. He must have them digitally. In big boxes, they are difficult to get. You are also quite dependent on the country you live in. I bet that in the US and the UK, there's at least a higher chance of getting them, but still quite hard. For example, in my case, it would be impossible because in Argentina there was really no distribution of that. In that sense, you are quite dependent on where you are to get those. This is true. I haven't been able to find my favorite in big box where I'm happy to pay the price. Your favorite is Dungeon Siege. Oh, Dungeon Siege. Your favorite is Dungeon Siege. Crowbar, you know that two of the first games that I analyzed I love Dungeon Siege. Okay. You know that two of the first games that I ever analyzed, one was even Cast Rise of the Mage. No way. Was a space siege. Space siege. Of course, I played Dungeon Siege back in the. It was the third game I've ever played. Dungeon Siege. After, of course, real-time strategy. Space Siege. Holy crap, what a twist. Hold on. Yes, it's all on the YouTube channel. If you two don't check the legendary archives of the YouTube channel, it's a different story. But one of the first ones that I did was a Space Siege. It was more like Diablo. It was the third incarnation of Dungeon Siege. That they tried to do it more like Diablo, like controlling a single character instead. Hold on. Holy crap, what a twist. Yes, a Space Siege. I analyzed it. I didn't like a lot of the aspects of it. It's not like Dungeon Siege, of course. No one is. No game is like Dungeon. And I also analyzed Dungeon Siege 3, yeah? And it wasn't that bad. It was different. It was more like Space Siege. I would say that if you like Space Siege, you will like Dungeon Siege 3. And if you like Dungeon Siege 1, you will like Dungeon Siege 2. That I still have to play. I never played Dungeon Siege 2. It is true. And the expansion and Legends of Arana. I can go even further beyond Crowbar. I can go even further beyond in the memory trip lane. And I will tell you that I have something quite special. I have an offline Pekarin can vouch. Just posted a pic of a Space Siege. Okay, so you have a physical version of Space Siege. Right beside Sacred Plus. Okay. Then I will check them all. Wow. It was one of the first games that I analyzed. It was one of the first Space Siege. It has a lot of issues running on PC nowadays. For it to make it work full screen, it does. But I think I managed a way to make it work. I definitely played it. But I remember playing it like wanting to make sure that I streamed it because it was so unstable that I didn't know what was going to. Space Siege was such a great idea, though. It was definitely. It's not like Dungeon Siege because you don't control a party. It's more like Diablo. But yeah, very different. I would say that if you like that one, have you played Dungeon Siege 3, the modern one? Well, modern one, 2012. For me, 2012 is also modern. I bet, like, for you people, don't feel old. Like you said, Crowbar, don't feel old at all. But yes. I have Obsidian one. Okay. And you didn't like it like Space Siege, for example. It's okay. It's pretty much what I awarded it. Okay, but it's more similar to Space Siege than to Dungeon Siege, if we had to classify them. Don't you think? Or would you classify it as more similar to Dungeon Siege 1? No. The other one, I'd rather play Space Siege than Dungeon Siege 3. Okay. You like Space Siege a bit more, even if it's shorter, eh? That's the thing that I didn't like. It's extremely short. But it was developed by Relic, could it be? And Sega, and yeah, by Sega. Sega published it, and then the developer was Relic, could it be? If I'm not mistaken, an internal development studio. Yeah, Sega had acquired Relic. I almost forgot it. Crowbar, since you like retro FPS games, I didn't want to forget this. I almost forgot. How? Don't feel old. Was it Square Enix? That one was Dungeon Siege 3. I mean, Space Siege was also Square Enix. Space Siege. Yeah, sorry, Obsidian. For fuck's sake. No. You know that there's already a remake, a remaster of Hexen and Heretic, right? Crowbar? The remastered versions? You saw them? Now I feel terrible that I will make you feel old again because of the. We're not old people. We're not old. We're not old. We're not old at all. At all. Hexen and heretic. I do. That also made me feel almighty old. No, no. Okay, those ones you didn't skip them. Uh, I don't know which one you like more. You say isometric action RPG games, but those you were aware of. 1970 was only 30 years ago. 20 years ago was only 2000. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But don't you feel, guys, don't you feel, Crowbar, Pekarin, don't you feel that modern games don't spot, don't hit the same spot of abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics compared to those older games, and it's not because of nostalgia. Like I could give objective reasons about that. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, see, it's a shared sentiment now. And you, Garen, what do you think? You like beat 'em ups from the 80s and the 90s? Crowbar, Pekarin instead loves. Yes, it's not just nostalgia. The mechanics are substantially dumbed down. Exactly. I feel exactly the same. I feel exactly the same. When I play Advent Rising, I felt that because there's a level close to the end in Advent Rising in which you fight an endless horde of enemies, and the reaction times I had to it took me 3 days. The reaction times I needed to have were kind of like so different that nowadays it doesn't require reaction times. Everyone tries so hard nowadays to make mechanics easy to pick up but hard to master, and it ruins it. Yeah, the classic formula of Warcraft, of the beast here. They try to copy the formula of Warcraft, yes, and they just is thinking about sales because that supposedly will attract a lot of audience at the beginning, and then uh, then they will stay, and really it's not the case in that sense. Yes, yes, yes. I feel like they do it like that. Yeah, and well, it works for Warcraft. It doesn't work for most things. Exactly, exactly. You hit the spot, Bekarin. Yeah, you kinda can find some extreme examples in indie, but in general terms, maybe you mean that yes, 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 yes. I feel like that. I feel like that. I feel like that. It's exactly like that. Because also the reaction times, I would say. You two know that just like you love uh, beat 'em ups, Pekarin from the 80s and the 90s, and you, Crowbar, you like the isometric action RPG games and the FPS games. I love RTS. I love real-time strategy, and in that sense, uh, modern examples don't hit the abstract complexity that they had. The reaction time. I'm lacking the reaction times. The reaction times of StarCraft, of Warcraft, of Warcraft 3, of Age of Empires. And for example, I'd rather play against the extreme AI of Age of Empires and have a good and let it bloom. I let it bloom into late economy and have a blast doing that. Than they don't know how to make challenging campaigns for RTS games in that sense. Huge RTS fan too. No, it can't be. You know that my channel started as RTS only, Crawler, right? In that sense. You know that it started as only RTS, but the genre, I told it to Pekar the last year as well when I was in the jungle region of Sacred, but the genre is so mechanic that people didn't watch. No one watched. I was like only streaming alone, and it was absolutely sad. I showcased a spell force the last year though. Really, I actually might have guessed that. I was lurking while you played Spellfor. You were lurking while you played Spellfor. Okay, 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 okay. So you did watch the channel just in the shadows. Any thoughts on Dawn of War 4? I know it's too early to analyze. No, 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 I have thoughts. But maybe, yeah, yeah, yeah. Something to say. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely have. I played Dawn of War 1, all of them. I played all of the expansions. except for the last one, except for Soulstorm. You know that you have to hex edit Winter Assault for it to work on PC. I did, so I went through the process of hex editing the executable to make it work. So I played Winter Assault as well, and the Dark Crusade with the Necrons. Okay, I think they are trying to go back to Dawn of War 1. They are straying away from... Because with Dawn of War 2, I feel that they wanted to follow the formula of... You know what happened? That Relic, an internal development studio of Sega, first released another game called Company of Heroes. Company of Heroes. And with Dawn of War 1... With Dawn of War 2, sorry, they tried to replicate the success of Company of Heroes 1, also developed by Relic, using the same assets and everything, in Dawn of War 2. But that strayed the formula from the original idea of Dawn of War 1. So Dawn of War 2 feels more like Company of Heroes, like a spin-off of Company of Heroes 1, also by Relic, that they were also developing the Total War series. They were quite successful. They are quite successful in that period of time. I love Total War series, in case you know people. It's no surprise with all of the things that I took about history. I love the Total War series. I completed Napoleon on legendary difficulty. Even the Battle of Waterloo, that is the most difficult out of the whole franchise, I would say so far. So Relic developed Total War... No, sorry, Creative Assembly. Sorry, my bad. Creative Assembly. You're right. Creative Assembly. Another internal development studio. The one that Relic developed was Age of Empires 4. Sorry, my bad. They only developed Company of Heroes. Company of Heroes. True, you're right. My bad. Thank you. Sorry. My flu is starting to affect my brain. Sorry, my bad. See, I also make mistakes, people. Yes, it was Creative Assembly. It's another internal one of Sega. That one. No. Relic did Company of Heroes. Company of Heroes. Lul, says Crowbar. Sorry, people, I have a flu. I cannot remember them all. Even my brain fails sometimes. So, they developed Company of Heroes. So, Dawn of War 2 felt much more similar to Company of Heroes. And Relic then developed Age of Empires 4. Okay, they developed Age of Empires 4. Yes, that one, yes. Age of Empires 4. So, since Relic developed Age of Empires 4, quite good, I must say, eh? I was surprised by that one. I see that their technique is to adapt first what they do in other franchises. I don't know if it... Okay, we skip Dawn of War 3. No, we are not going to skip Dawn of War 3. That they also developed it. Kappa. No. Since they developed Age of Empires 4, Dawn of War 3, well, it was a flop. It was, with all respect of the expression, it was a piece of shit. It was a piece of shit. You know that I generally don't classify games like that, so imagine how much of a disappointment it must have been. After that flop, they improved upon the formula of Dawn of War 3 with Age of Empires 4, and I feel that they're applying all of the knowledge that they got from Age of Empires 4 to Dawn of War 4, that coincidentally are the same number. So I guess with Force is when they return to the roots. They said, well, if you could revive Age of Empires with 4, you will revive Dawn of War with 4. Okay, I get the point. So now they apply what they develop for other franchises to those. Yes, that's good. But Dawn of War 4 developed by another... It's not Relic. I think I saw Relic. Didn't I could have sworn I saw the Relic logo. They developed Iron Harvest. It's not a Relic. It's not Relic, Pekarin. The fourth one, the new one. I could have sworn I saw the logo. The logo of Relic. Yep. Then I'm confused. Is it Relic or not for Dawn of War 4? That's maybe good news for us. Uh, so it's not Relic. What's the name of the studio? Not Relic. What's the name of the studio behind Dawn of War 4? Do you know it? Just by chance. If you don't know it, don't worry. I can Google it. But do you know it? Which the from Iron Harvest was quite good. It was more tactical squad base oriented. King Art. Okay. Okay. Quite. They developed Iron Harvest. Okay. Iron Harvest was amazing. Iron Harvest was amazing. But it's more squad based, huh? It's more squad based. That's a problem. It's more squad based, and here this Dawn of War seemed like more real-time strategy rather than real-time tactics. Real-time tactics is when you don't have a lot of base building. When you don't have a lot of base building. Okay, so they are the developers of Iron Harvest. I thought it was Relic. Could have sworn I saw a logo because the license is held by Sega. Still, right? The license is still by Iron Harvest. Okay. Okay, so the developers of Iron Harvest. Okay. Then it will be more squad based, maybe. Maybe it will be a bit more squad based because yes. Alright, gents, absolute pleasure, but I have to go to bed. I'll be lurking while I go to sleep. Godspeed, says Crowbar. Crowbar, now I read it, Pekar. Crowbar, thank you from the bottom of my heart for visiting and chatting again. I always love it and appreciate it. Love to you from the bottom of my heart a lot, and thank you a lot. Visit and chat anytime you'd like. Good, you'd like, or lurk, or whatever. I always deeply love it. And then I will check as I eat. You know, here it's a bit earlier. It's much earlier. It's 9 p.m. more or less. So then I will check out your pictures. Love them, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thanks that you said that you watched Spellforce lurking, and all of the time that you spent lurking, and maybe I don't see it, so I cannot thank you. So thanks from the bottom of my heart. Okay, Pekarin. They developed Dawn of War 4. It's a long development time. It's a long development time, Pekarin. They developed Dawn of War. Another heart for you, Pekarin. Yeah, Crowbar is also the best. You are all the best in my book. Think of it like this, people. There aren't many channels in which people that visited you like years ago, then remember, it was the crazy guy from the Metaphysical Analysis, the crazy Italian Argentine there. Okay, they developed Dawn of War 4 and again, sorry if any of you are lurking for months and months and I cannot thank you. It's just that I just don't see it. I just don't see it if you are lurking, and naturally I cannot. I can tell that you are there. So you must be thinking, but no, you can watch it in the chat. No, the problem is that my Streamlabs, I don't know why my Streamlabs has fluctuations telling me if there are people or not. Otherwise, I would thank you even if you are lurking. In that sense, and don't say a word. But yeah, always thank you when you chat, people, because it's nice listening to you again. In that sense, Pekarin. They developed Dawn of War 4 for 4 years before they announced it. The developers of Iron Harvest. Good night, good luck. Good luck. Okay. So we can hope. Okay, so they developed it for 4 years. Okay. They developed it for 4 years. But in that sense, the studio of Iron Harvest, I didn't know. I thought it was going to be Relic. I thought they still had the license. There you surprised me, Pekarin, a lot. I thought Relic and Sega still had the license. I mean, Sega must still have the license to publish, but they gave it to a different internal development studio. Okay. Iron Harvest, people, Iron Harvest is more squad-based oriented in that sense. It reminds me of a lot of modern examples. Here I'll show you. Where did I have them? This one, Ancestor's Legacy, War Party, They are all modern squad-based ones. Well, here I have to adjust here. The line Iron Harvest is over there, I think, or here. Last Train Home is another one. War Mongrels, and here's Iron Harvest. And Partisans. There, they are all. Partisans is about the Italian front. That's why I have it. People have it. It's about the Italian front. my grandparents are the protagonists in that sense. Yeah, me too. And the recent release of Dawn of War Remaster confused me a bit as well. Okay, so they gave it to a more squad-based oriented studio. You know that I always tell this. Well, this is an old topic that I talked about on stream thousands of times, and pretty much no one ever cared about. I chatted about this for years, and no one ever cared about as to watch the stream. The difference between real-time strategy and the real-time tactics genre. But since you are all amazing veterans in that sense, I can talk about it. You know the difference between. It's a quite subtle difference. The difference between real-time strategy and real-time tactics, depending on which of the two ideas you give priority to, depending on which of the two ideas you give priority to, it will be quite different. I analyze this a lot, and it's the reason why, one of the reasons why, basically the developer of Dungeons and Dragons, Dragon Shard, discovered my streams and he praised my analysis and those things. In a real-time tactics game, what's the difference really between squad-based gameplay, the squad-based gameplay of Dawn of War 2, and the real-time strategy gameplay of, I don't know, Age of Empires or Dawn of War 1 or Dawn of War 1? Between Dawn of War 1 and Dawn of War 2, what would you say is the difference? Well, the main difference is the fact that in real-time tactics games, the first difference, this is like the beginning of my channel, like the beginning, the first things that I've analyzed. In a real-time tactics game, it's surprising really that they remade every entry in the series. Honestly, I can't think of many other series where that happened. They didn't remaster the second one yet, or did they? Did they? Did they remaster the second one, or did they not remaster the second one? The second one is not remastered, I would say. The Dawn of War 2 is not remastered in that sense. What the fuck? Here. What? I mean, gameplay-wise. Okay, that they changed the gameplay. Okay, but just so I don't lose track of the initial idea. In a real-time tactics game, your positioning on the battlefield, this is quite subtle and abstract, but your positioning on the battlefield determines the overall outcome of the battle and your overall combat efficiency. In a real-time tactics game, like Dawn of War 2, like the Total War series as well, even if it's a different studio, it's the same. Your positioning on the battlefield, that's the part of tactics instead of a strategy. Your positioning on the battlefield changes the outcome of the battle. For example, think about Total War, and if you do a cavalry charge from the rear of an enemy formation, you will most probably win most encounters, even if your units are shit. Even if your units are terrible. In that sense, it doesn't matter. Your positioning on the battlefield has more predominance than your APM, your actions per minute with the economic production of the game or whatever. In that sense. Second point is that in a real-time tactics game, like Dawn of War 2 instead of Dawn of War 1, you don't have base building, or the base building mechanics are extremely minimized. In that sense, it's the case with Dawn of War 2. In the case of real-time strategy, is the opposite. Your positioning on the battlefield really, well, it can have a certain impact. For example, when you activate the Protoss Psionic Storm as an area of effect ability on a group of units, and you need to be on top of a cliff or something because of the fog of war. In that sense, the real-time strategy portion of it does have a bit of positioning on the battlefield, but it's not 100. It does not 100% determine the outcome of the battle. That is the key. Positioning on the battlefield does not determine the outcome of the battle 100%. You are more dependent on APM, economy, and the amount of units that you can produce, rather than how you use them. That's the key. And the second one, base building, of course, big, huge role in that as well, in the efficiency of the outcome of the battle, in that sense. Okay, so that's the thing. That's the thing, people. There are differences between a real-time tactics game and a real-time strategy game in that sense. So yes. In that sense, it's quite different. Now, in the Dawn of War series, the first one, I classified it as a real-time strategy game because you do have a lot of base building. You do have a lot of base building. The second one I would classify it as a real-time tactics game, as you don't have the base building and you need to take cover and you have to position your units specifically on the battlefield to be efficient in combat. And the third one, that interesting creature, that was the third one, I would say it leaned a bit more towards real-time tactics still, because you still had to take cover and base building mechanics weren't that predominant. Now, I wonder what direction this new one is going to take, because in the images it looks more like the first one than the second one and the third. And considering the fact that Age of Empires now is more popular than what it was some years ago, I think they'll go for real-time strategy as well. Okay, we have to get through the acid. Don't know why this mechanic is here, honestly. Just to piss off the player. Like, without the build that Patrick told me some minutes ago, I wouldn't be able to survive this shit. I don't know how new players without help would get through this shit. Like, it's unavoidable, the damage. So yes, basically, gameplay-wise, Pekarin, I think Dawn of War 4 will be more like Age of Empires. It will be more real-time strategy than real-time tactics. But I need to lay out the concepts for the framework of it. In that sense. So I would say it will be more RTS than real-time tactics. It will be more real-time strategy in that sense. So I would say more real-time strategy because of the context. Age of Empires 2, in that sense, is curious that nowadays is more popular, as I've said. Yeah, they say that there is base building. They said that base building and more like Dawn of War 1 style is their target. Okay. Well, so my uneducated guess wasn't so far away from it. Yes, because of the framework. The context of the genre is different now. Age of Empires 2 is successful. That's the key difference right now. Before, the insane amount of remasters of Age of Empires 2 that they released, it was a bit more dormant in that sense, going for that gameplay style. But as Age of Empires 2 got updated and they remastered it, they've added 4K textures. Now it looks amazing. I love it. I play it all the time in that sense. Uh, since they saw that that formula was more successful, the problem is that it was more successful than StarCraft 2, Age of Empires 2 now. It's gotten to a point in which it's more successful than StarCraft 2 at its peak. That is the key. But it's not like through esports or anything. It's like mouth to mouth. Like raw sales silent through Steams. There are 2 remasters of Age of Empires 2. That's insane. Indeed, but the one that Forgotten Empires did originally, back in, it was 2015, if I'm not mistaken. I think there I didn't fail with the date. I think it was 2015 when they started remastering the shit. Then they did the first one and etc. But the thing is, Pekarin, this is the thing. Nowadays, Age of Empires 2 feels more successful. It feels more successful than the peak of StarCraft 2. More successful both in fame and commercially, but it's not like StarCraft 2, like Blizzard's style. Blizzard was like, let's organize a lot of esports and people will come and say, no, this one is silent. It's silent. It's the base user, the normal user, that is meant to be like that, just silently buying the game on Steam. Silently buying the game on Steam. Instead of those crazy, it's not so much competition oriented. I think that's the key that brought even more success to Age of Empires 2 ultimately than even StarCraft 2 in that sense. I think that was the key. They targeted the normal player, not crazy esports tournaments or that shit. They went for, the game needs to be remastered, add content to it, preserve the classic gameplay that we all remember, and don't care about shitty esport tournaments or whatever. Just create campaigns, go for single player, and it worked. The most content that they've implemented to it that makes it now an infinite game. Age of Empires 2 by now is an infinite game. It's precisely the campaigns that they are adding all the time. So yes, they followed the old advice of this idiot you see here, that yes, I said that the day that I said it back then when I started the channel, that when the RTS genre would forget about esports for a second and care about the normal user, it would find success once again. And it did so through Age of Empires 2, through adding the single player campaigns. Precisely. That is the key. I feel like, as I've said, it's more successful than the peak of StarCraft 2 back in 2010. It's more impactful and successful. And because of that, we are having now some new ideas in the genre, in that sense. See how far it went. It went, the idea. So yes, yeah. In that sense, I feel that because of that, it's a great idea that they go more real-time strategy than real-time tactics. It's what Dawn of War 3 should have been at the end of the day, people. It's what it should have been at the end of the day. That pile of crap is what it should have been. Is what it should have been. Instead, they were like, developers have like lag, considering what they have to release. Like, I feel that Dawn of War 3 was released thinking that they had to be like StarCraft 2, like multiplayer oriented competition. And it was an idea that was already old by the time that they released it. Proof is that Age of Empires 2 is more popular than StarCraft 2 in that sense right now. So yes, they they need to be ahead of time, and they were exactly the opposite. They were like behind time. So yes, the other one that had a trailer but not gameplay was Darksiders 4. Finally, after millions of years, well, millions of years since 2008, it's not been that much time since 2008. People, we were discussing previously that we all feel old with those things. 2008 was yesterday. Since Darksiders 1, and you know that by the end of that game, the ending was announced that it's going to be this game that they are going to release, Darksiders 4, with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So the final horseman was precisely Pestilence, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it was even pictured in the ending of the first game. You can see the 4 lights coming down from the sky. So I am glad that after so many years, the prophecy will be fulfilled, and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse should ride together. That's the key. They should ride together, because the promise back in 2008 was that that the player was going to be able to shift between the 4 of them in the last game. That's the key. I just hope that we can use the 4 of them with different abilities. That was the promise for the ending. I just hope they fulfill that promise, because it was the whole idea of, like, all of the other games were made to fulfill that purpose. People, you see, it's a quite interesting idea. In the very ending of the first game, the idea was that they were going to release 4 of them. They could only release the second one. Then they released the third one. But the idea was that, in the end, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unite their forces to finally bring balance against the traitors who imprisoned War in the first game, the first horseman. It was a whole promise. So we'll see. We'll see if after so many years and company changes and the franchise changing hands, finally they can unite forces, because that's the idea. That's the idea. They had to unite their forces. Now I see that we can only play with Pestilence, but no. But the idea was that they had to. I know they have another path that is more straightforward, and I won't get so much poison damage there. So yes, I will move this one right over here. As for the rest of the things of the Gamescom that Gamescom left for us, the new, I don't know if you saw it, the Xbox Rogue Ally, people. I think the console market of tablets that the Nintendo Switch initiated is getting a bit stagnant. I don't know if it happened to you. Sorry, this flu is killing me. It's getting a bit stagnant, if you ask me. Like, everyone tried to copy the Switch, the original Switch. Alright, fair game. The Steam Deck was not an original idea, but it brought the performance that the Switch didn't have originally, that was then fixed with the Switch 2. But I would feel that once the Switch 2 fixed the problem of terrible performance that it had, the others really, I don't know purpose they fulfill, and the Xbox Rogue Ally is like the worst shit in that sense. Do you know people that I showcased it in the Ultimate PS Vita showcase, for example, people? Do you know that the PS Vita can stream games perfectly from your PS4 or even your PC if you have it modded? And it's not that it's a shitty solution or anything, it's perfect. Like, it can already do it. And if you get a grip, you can. I played, for example, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. For example, I played on the PS Vita. For example, you can do that. Not all the game. I wanted to test it. I played some levels and I could progress through the levels on the hardest difficulty without any kind of issue. In that sense, the response times were good. So, if a device from 2012 could already do streaming, my question is, what are all of these new consoles bringing to the game, to the scene, to the table? What are they bringing? Pretty much at all. If you want a PC, you can even buy a laptop if you want to play portably, or your desktop at home. If you want to play Nintendo exclusives, you have the Switch, in that sense. I honestly don't see what they offer that is so different. I would guess it was performance back when the Switch 1 was terribly outdated. But now that the second one updated that aspect, it's quite hard to make a point for the Steam Deck, the Rogue Ally, and the new Xbox One is going to be a flop 100%. I don't know if anyone here would like to defend the Xbox Rogue Ally with any argument. You may surprise me then in the future, but so far I cannot think of a single argument to defend that shit. I don't know. If anyone could think about a single argument to defend the Xbox Rogue Ally. A person who can do that, then I have to give them a cookie for extra effort. But yeah, I don't think anyone can do that because what a pile of crap that is. It's like a second Rogue Ally, but they have no personality. It's what we were talking about precisely when I was playing Sacred 2, about the personality of the consoles. They feel like... I don't know if anyone here bought the PS5 or the Xbox, or any new Xbox since the Xbox One. I feel that they have no personality. I'm sorry. I'd rather assemble another PC, and I don't need to even, because with a 3080 you can move anything, pretty much. Close to 144, except for games that are not optimized. Pretty much, I don't see the personality in the consoles. Back when they released all of the consoles that I showed you, my Game Boy, my Game Boy Advance, they had a wacky personality that made them distinctively unique in that sense. I feel that they all feel the same. They're like PCs without any kind of extra gimmicks, except for the Switch. In that sense, Nintendo has been... I think you, Karen, precisely defined it as the last samurai of exclusives when I was playing Sacred 2, and I agree with that. Indeed, it's the last one that retains that classic development. I hope they never leave it, because it's that classic development style that ensures that a console is not a PC and it has some gimmick that will make it special. The Xbox One feels like a PC, and the PlayStation 5 as well. The PS5 now, I would suggest no one to buy them because they've already announced that they are bringing the exclusives to PC. So with a PC you can pretty much do anything. If I had to point at a response at an individual, to an individual responsible for it, I would say the decline started with Jim Ryan, with Herman Holst, and with there was another one that I'm missing. I can't remember the name. There was one previously to those ones, to Herman Holst and Jim Ryan. I think it was Sean Lydon, could it be? But whatever. I think the best one was Jack Tretton, in terms of directors of the studios of Sony Interactive Entertainment. I think the best one was Jack Tretton, without a doubt. Of course, after Kaz Hirai, that was the historic one of the PS1 and the PS2. If we are talking about modern ones, I would say Jack Tretton was the best, without a doubt. It was the last one that thought about the exclusives. I think the worst one so far has been Herman Holst, and I think it's related. It's related to the development philosophy of studios in the Netherlands. You know that he's from the Netherlands. He was a developer of Guerrilla and those things. And I see a tendency that also with Baldur's Gate 3, for example, that both Belgian and both Belgian studios and studios from the Netherlands are like the most progressive ever in their policies, and I think that affects the development of a lot of the games negatively. They immediately discard classic ideas. For example, when David Walgrave, the executive producer of Baldur's Gate 3, said that real-time with post-combat is dead, and then you have the Russian studio Lor'Tac Games, for example, reviving Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 with Pathfinder, both the tabletop game and the video games. Both of them. Both of the lines were both revived by a very small indie studio. I think they're in Siberia or something like that. I don't remember where they are. Lor'Tac Games. So a small indie studio revived 3.5 successfully, and we have the developers of Baldur's Gate 3 telling us that real-time with POS is dead. And they developed a second game. It's not just Pathfinder Kingmaker. They developed a second one called Wrath of the Righteous. So a small indie studio without resources at all could revive Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, but Baldur's Gate 3, with Larian Studios coming from Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, with all of the money of Wizards of the Coast, can't. And they say that real-time with POS is dead. There's something wrong there. There's something wrong there, people. Without a doubt. They should have gone for real-time with POS then, in that sense. So I don't see why is it that whenever a director from either a Belgian studio like precisely Baldur's Gate 3, or for example Herman Holst from the Netherlands, why they immediately discard any development idea that resembles anything that is classic gameplay. You see what I mean? That the second they have to deal with the original player base of the game, they don't know what to do. They immediately discard us, like we don't exist. And I think it's a terrible decision, because imagine if now I told you that Sony is going to release Infamous 3 exclusively. Everyone would jump out of their seats. Infamous 3, for example. Killzone 4, well, 5 would be because they had a spin-off. Well, let's say something like that. with classic gameplay, a classic like Halo, like they tried to do, like that, with classic gameplay. Nothing, maybe one or two ideas of, I don't know, making it open world, the Killzone game, like Halo Infinite. I don't know. For example, making it open world with some quests, something like that, but with the heavy physics of Killzone and the story and the settings and everything. Imagine that. Or, I don't know, um, a classic God of War like the old ones. Everyone would love it. Everyone would love it. I don't think anyone would be a single person that was part of the original player base would argue that they wouldn't like those ideas in that sense. So imagine, compare those to what they have given to us so far. What they've done, they've changed God of War in a way that resembles Rise Son of Rome a bit more because of the camera angle, and because the camera angle limits the amount of enemies that you can deal with. Is not It cannot be a hack and a slash game. And Killzone Dead, Infamous Dead as well. Dead, they don't release games, and as long as Herman Holtz is part of the direction, it will be like that, because he has already said that he does not care about other games. They've remastered The Last of Us 1,000 times, which, well, this will be quite unpopular, people. I think The Last of Us, this will be a crime for a lot of people. I think it's a game of 7, no more. The second one is a piece of shit directly. The first one is a 7, no more than a 7. I beat it on the hardest difficulty on PS3. The Last of Us. Uncharted was much better, in my opinion. Uncharted was much better. And they have idolized The Last of Us so much that they destroyed any other kind of gameplay. And then, of course, we have people. This is the part in which everyone hates me, and 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 no new people like to watch the stream. In that sense, the woke component of Naughty Dog, it's gotten to a point. It's got to a point in which it's destroying their stories. I don't know if you feel like that, people, but it's absolutely destroying their capability of creating a convincing story. The component of progressive ideals that they put is so high that it limits what they can do with the story. That's the problem. It limits what they can do with the story. There are things that they just cannot do. They just cannot do. Imagine if they tried to put a guy like Kratos from God of War 3, in which, I don't know, he just grabbed girls and smashed them with Greek mechanisms, and he was a beast, and because he was meant to be a beast, he was like that. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Not to mention that in The Last of Us 2, well, not to mention the scene. You must be thinking he's going to mention the Joel, the scene where he gets killed by Abby and all of that progressive shit. No, there's something worse. And I didn't play the game, but I watched it. The Last of Us 1, I finished it on like the hardest difficulty without being detected. The second one, I cannot play that piece of shit. No, I watched it through YouTube. There's a scene in which there's a scene in which a pregnant woman grabs an HK-45, grabs a weapon, and kind of like jumps around as if she was a Captain America super soldier. Uh, it's absolutely pathetic, unconvincing, and unrealistic. Uh, I cannot believe I have to tell these things, but when you are pregnant, you cannot move like that. So everyone, there's been Japanese people who have cut their CDs of The Last of Us 2 live. As they were streaming or playing the game, they just got up, cut the CD in two, 60 euros or dollars to shit. Just went to shit. What I'm saying is that precisely the direction of Sony has gotten so progressive like that is limiting what they can do with the stories. It's limiting what they can do with the stories. I don't know if you've seen Intergalactic. I don't know if you've seen Intergalactic. The protagonist, of course, is an androgynous person with no defined sex. So she's not the person is not either man or woman, but he's also not. He's undefined. Like when in software development we have an undefined variable, the person is completely undefined, like nothing. And with those shits, you must be thinking, if anyone progressive watching this over at YouTube, you must be thinking, well, but Eraser, if it's their artistic freedom, what's it to you? What's the problem? It's a science fiction. It's always this argument. It's a science fiction universe, so crazy things can happen. The fact that you create a science fiction universe does not mean that you can take the freedom of characters not acting according to their personalities. It's something that I debated about. It's something that I debated about several times. Alright, we have to defend the Protector. You can have a medieval fantasy setting with fantasy elements in which still the characters act according to their personalities in a medieval environment with the fantasy elements. What do I mean by this? And you'll see. For example, you know that in medieval ages, it was quite common that the feudal lord, after the collapse of the great Italian Roman Empire, precisely in that sense, since there was a void of power, if you didn't live inside of a feudal lord's, under the protection of a feudal lord's small castle and the feuds, basically your other option was to live outside, and you were killed by bandits, right? In medieval ages. So, in exchange for the protection of the feudal lord, if you lived inside of the chateau, of the castle, basically, the feudal lord could say hello, knock your door, and say your woman is coming with me, your wife is coming with me for one night. Then he would return her, for example. And of course, all of these things are horrendous, unacceptable, illegal, and terrible to even hear nowadays. However, if you are doing a representation of medieval ages, that would be a normal pattern of behavior. You see the difference. I can perfectly separate the difference between a modern interpretation of it and giving a realistic behavior to characters in a fictional work of art. That is the key. That is the key. And I feel like in modern games, they are applying a modern personality to medieval characters using the fantasy component as an excuse for it. In that sense, using the fantasy component as an excuse in that sense. But the genre is medieval fantasy. They are exponentially increasing one component of it. They are exponentially increasing one component of it, the fantasy element, to use it as an excuse to nullify, to eliminate the medieval component. The genre was born of medieval fantasy with the Lord of the Rings, with the books, actually, people. With the Lord of the Rings. Then the tabletop game of Dungeons and Dragons. But back then, if you play Baldur's Gate, the original one, you can see that the medieval component is still an inherently important part of it. If you play Baldur's Gate 3, Jacob, if you are watching from there, from Sechia, also a lot of love to you too, that you watch them as bots as well, maybe. In the case of Baldur's Gate 3, I bet you all feel that it's more fantasy than medieval portion of it. It's not medieval fantasy, it's pure fantasy indeed. That's the key. So when measuring the psychological impact of the story of all of those games, modernly, the fantasy portion has consumed the medieval portion. They don't give a shit about medieval realism in that sense. And it's a shame, and it's a pity, because in Sacred 2, for example, you have medieval characters, because you can see things of common problems back then that has to do with the level of education of the developers when they release the games. In that sense, that act according to the personality of a medieval character without forgetting about the fantasy components. Or don't you see the fucking portals of teleportation in Sacred 2 and the mythological creatures and everything? Yes, the fantasy component is there, and you cast the spells and those things, but the characters retain the cohesion of the medieval setting in which they live in. That is the key. The game doesn't forget about the medieval setting. That's why it's medieval fantasy, in that sense. That's why it's medieval fantasy, properly executed. Properly executed. That is the key. It's properly executed like that. Okay. So people. So, when people say that just because a game has fantasy components, it does not mean, because generally this is the excuse, it's a fantasy game. What does it mean to you that then you can have, I don't know, a society in which you can have a feudal lady of a city, of a medieval city state? What does it do to you? It's fantasy freedom and those things. If it's fantasy freedom, eliminate the medieval component altogether. Eliminate it altogether. So it's not medieval fantasy. It's pure fantasy, which would be the appropriate classification in that sense. But if you're doing medieval fantasy, following the formula of the Lord of the Rings, then the feudal lord, because of how the Roman Empire culturally influenced the medieval city-states, it's impossible for that to happen. And you must be thinking, it's just a game. This is generally the excuse. It's just a game. Yes, but the cohesion of the medieval portion of medieval fantasy is being consumed using as excuse the fantasy portion of it. As I've said, in Sacred 2, you can have, in the Lord of the Rings, people, think about the Lord of the Rings. It's fantasy. Mordor doesn't exist. There isn't a ring that manipulates people's minds. fantasy portion, but it does not forget the cohesion of characters acting according to their medieval personalities. See the key. That is the key. That's why we feel a lot of modern games, story-wise, not only the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics, they are unconvincing in a lot of cases, and people don't rationalize this mental process in that sense. They just take a stance, defend it, etc., but they never get to why. They never get to why in that sense. The why is that they use the fantasy portion as an excuse to not put in the effort to do the research and development so characters act according to their medieval personalities. In a fantasy setting, in a medieval fantasy setting. That is the key. That's the problem. That's why I always say that you should always ask yourselves why things happen, to understand the inherent nature of the metaphysical entity in time and space. When you understand why it happens, then you can explain the phenomenon and you truly understand it. See the difference between this that I just described and saying, for example, find the odor today in one of the soulless Norsemen? Wait, what? He's not here. See the difference between that and just saying it's not realistic. But the key is that I didn't tell you why it's not realistic. Alright, it's over there. One of the soulless Norsemen. Okay, we have to just kill and find the axe. Okay, see the difference? I gave you the reasons. I gave you the why. I mentioned that, just like we do with the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics, with the analysis and everything. As I always tell you, the metaphysical entity is not what our mental perception makes it to be. Because I could tell you, well, but I am convinced in my subjective mental perception, it must have happened to you people, that in my subjective mental perception, I think that back in medieval ages there were feudal ladies, and the feudal ladies went to the home of the serfs, and they kidnapped the husbands of the feudal serfs. For example, the opposite, the exact opposite situation. Imagine that. I think it happened, and you will tell me, well, but it didn't happen. And I tell you, but I think it happened. I am convinced in my subjective mental perception that it happened. At that point, the first thing that you will tell me is that, well, you cannot reason with a person who tells you that. You just cannot reason with a person that tells you that he's denying reality. It's generally the problem, the phrase that people will use. He's denying reality. No, it's much deeper than that. It's much deeper than that. As I always tell you people, what makes... as I always say, people, you must be bored of this example. What makes this gaming mouse a gaming mouse? Why do we call it a gaming mouse? In that sense, people, I know it's quite brutal, the metaphysical aspect of the analysis, I always tell you. What does it make? Why is it a gaming mouse? Why is it correct to call it a gaming mouse? Well, for a person who will tell me that feudal ladies existed and that they no, but there was one example in which a feudal lord was killed and his daughter had to inherit the throne. That's a different thing. That's a different thing. But he didn't take the original position after the collapse of the Roman Empire. But it existed. I read that once a daughter had to inherit the throne of the feudal lord. Once. What makes the gaming mouse a gaming mouse and not a table? At that point, it's the same example. Metaphysical entities in the plane of time and space are determined by their arrangement of particles, not our mental perception of it. Even if I tell you that I think that the feudal lady, that we were full of feudal ladies all over Europe after the collapse of the Roman Empire, and that was the case, and I'm convinced of it in my subjective mental perception, my mental perception does not modify the way particles objectively arranged in time and space. It does not modify it. That's the real reason. Even if I tell you that it's a chair, it's a gaming mouse. Because the particles and the molecules arrange themselves in such a way that they created a metaphysical entity with the inherent nature. Inherent means that the essence is internal to the entity. It's not dependent on my mental perception. And with the same line of reasoning, I can tell the person that after the collapse of the Roman Empire, in the metaphysical plane of time and space, the metaphysical entity, feudal lord, is the one that happened. It's how particles and molecules arrange themselves for whatever reason, because they organized a tribe and had, I don't know, certain traits that made them lead the tribes to then unite and be feudal lords or whatever. But the point is that metaphysical reality, this is the real reason, is not affected by my mental perception of it. I can think whatever I want. But then the key is how much that mental perception, how close it is to describe metaphysical reality. See that there's a dissociation. I have my mental perception, I have my opinion, but the key is how sharp and close it is to describe metaphysical reality, objective metaphysical reality, in the plane of time and space, the entities in it. See that there's a difference between that and the relativist idea that we have nowadays. It must have happened to you that you are having an argument with someone, and you reach a point in which that person tells you, well, but that's your idea and this is mine, and that's it. See that the problem with that is that you never reach any objective conclusions. That's the key that I always mention. You never reach any objective conclusion. Everyone remains isolated in their own subjective perception of reality, but you never combine efforts to reach the closest description possible between all of you. Well, I know that the part of the metaphysics is absolutely brutal. It's absolutely brutal for most people. So, because of that, the feudal lady didn't exist. It was a feudal lord. Of course, it doesn't happen anymore. But it was the case. And in the medieval setting, we have to address that it was reality like that. And that will give the game the cohesion that it requires. That is why, precisely, Pathfinder is realistic. It has cohesion in its characters, but Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't. It's not just the extra complexity of the gameplay mechanics in that sense, people. It's quite interesting. And nowadays, if you say this in public, for example, fortunately it's changing nowadays. Well, at least here in Argentina, we had 70 long years of, let's say, almost communism. It was like mediocre communism. Fortunately, it's changing, and at least we conservative people can express our opinion without being publicly stoned. In that sense. But there's still a reminiscence of the intolerance. If I had to say, the Obama administration is the one responsible for a lot of the issues that we have morally. The Obama administration, if I had to say, in that sense, if I had to pick one that accentuatedly. Wait, can you elaborate on Baldur's Gate 3? On Baldur's Gate 3, Pekarin, you're still... okay. Yeah, on Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, I hate Baldur's Gate 3. I am a player of the original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on Throne of Vault difficulty. I debated this with Jacob, a follower from Sechia, the other day, that he also loves Baldur's Gate 3. On Baldur's Gate 3, what do you mean comparing it to Pathfinder, not gameplay? Yes. Pathfinder, only narrative. I haven't played Pathfinder, but you played Pathfinder, Kingmaker. You played it. I didn't play it. Is the narrative progressive? I don't think so. Yes, it is progressive. Oh, whoa. Then I made it wrong. I was wrong. I felt like just because it was a small development studio. Precisely from Russia, it was more conservative by default, on average, compared to Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know. They followed Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. Is it also like woke, like progressive with you fucking bears all over the place, like in Baldur's Gate 3? To that level of craziness, there's a mission there are missions in Baldur's Gate 3 in which if you don't say in the new Dragon Age, if you don't say the pronouns correctly, the person's correct you. I don't know. Nope, it's not. Okay, so in Pathfinder there are no. Oh, you mean that stuff? Yeah. Like fucking bears all over the place, like deliberately promoting rainbow flags. I don't think so. I don't think all cat games uh, uh, gets to that level. I saw some missions and the characters, for example, the characters, are they all androgynous? Like not male or female, like that crazy psychopathic stuff that we see nowadays. I don't know, Pekarin. First off, I don't want to offend you in case you. So you not played Pathfinder and completed? No, I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3 at all. No. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, 1 and 2. No. I will play Pathfinder precisely. It's just that I don't have time. Instead of Baldur's Gate 3. No, I played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and Baldur's Gate 3 I will never play it. Precisely. I will play Pathfinder. Exactly. Pathfinder, Kingmaker, and Wrath of the Righteous. I want to play them because they are the true inheritors of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 instead of 3. More or less. I mean the point. I don't like Baldur's Gate 3. They insulted the original player base. They said that we all want kind of like an outdated combat system. I like real time with pause. I don't like full turn based. No, precisely. I didn't play Pathfinder, but I want to play it, and I will never play Baldur's Gate 3. The ones that I love are Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the original ones. More or less, I like real time with pause. I don't like I don't like fully turn based. And the producer of Baldur's Gate 3, David Walgrave, said that all of us that liked real time with pause, we were out of touch with reality or some shit like that. He basically insulted the original player. Precisely. No. I will never complete that pile of crap. Baldur's Gate 3. I'm sorry. I played Divinity Original Sin 1 on the hardest difficulty. Like the original idea of the studio. And I'm sorry, it doesn't come even close to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. 1 and 2, in that sense. Yeah. Well, at least you confirm me that there are no crazy... well, not crazy stuff in Pathfinder. I don't know how progressive it must be. It is, but it shouldn't be as bad as Baldur's Gate 3. Nothing. It cannot be that bad. It cannot be. I don't think it will be. I think it's precisely much more realistic regarding the characters, according to what I've seen. I've seen some quests. It looked quite good. Pathfinder. I'll precisely jump from Baldur's Gate 2 to Pathfinder. I will skip Baldur's Gate 3. After they insulted the gameplay, after they insulted everything that the 90s represented, no, sorry, I can't. Sorry, I can't. I think these are just overblown short clips, which are extremely rare in Baldur's Gate 3, and are exaggerated by certain media. But combat system, yeah, I get it. So, Baldur's Gate 3, you wouldn't say that by the way, please, in case you or anyone else watching that likes, in case any of you likes those things, please don't get offended. I've already have had enough people offended. It's just that please understand that for someone old school classic like me, if I see that they allow you to fuck bears all over the place, it's immediately something that feels unnatural to me in that sense. Do you think they are overblown clips? That most of Baldur's Gate 3 is not like that, completely progressive. Okay, I'll keep it in the back of my head. That they are overblown clips. Okay. It's more normal once you play it. Okay. It's more normal once you play it. It's not that crazy. But combat system is still, yeah. No, I'm waiting for a mod that, well, in that case, I said I would never play it, but I trust you. Still there, Campa. But I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. Maybe once they develop a real-time mod for the combat, well, I can see that. If you say it's not that crazy, but I saw a fucking tiefling fucking a bear, like with the shape shifting and those things. I will. No worries. I'll see what it is. I'll take a look at it more in depth. But yeah, the combat is the prostitution that I cannot deal with. The combat is something that before I keep criticizing, I beat Divinity Original Sin 1 on the highest difficulty. I don't know which one you like the most. Though Dragon Age Veilguard, what you said fits it. Yeah, that one is. In that sense, that's why Pathfinder there was a blessing. That studio was amazing because they are quite old cat games. They were quite small studio. What they did, the Dragon Age one was. You know that one of my favorite games of all time is Dragon Age Origins, precisely with real time with post combat, and yes, it's what they did. I would place Dragon Age Origins as I beat the Harvester, Picard, and I asked the other day to other viewers who here had beaten the Harvester on the hardest difficulty. I did so. It took me a whole day. The Harvester is the real final boss of Dragon Age Origins. It's the Awakening expansion. In that sense, the Harvester is absolutely brutal. It's more difficult than some bosses in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Old Cat, yeah, that one. Old Cat Games. They are based in Moscow, by the way. Now in Cyprus, of course. They moved to the island of Cyprus. Cyprus, sorry. Cyprus. They move away. Oh, okay. They were based in Moscow. Yeah, I think I said Siberia. I was wrong. Sorry, my flu is killing me. I must have missed them. Yes. They were based then. Now in Cyprus, of course, in Old Cat. Okay. Yeah. They were quite talented with the first Pathfinder. It's sad for me that I don't know how they developed the second entry in the middle of the armed conflict and those things, because in that sense must have been alright for them moving to Cyprus. I have to go to sleep, unfortunately. Enjoy Drakensang and good luck, says Pekarin. Thank you, Pekarin, from the bottom of my heart. I deeply appreciated your company and the chat, and hope that, well, I'm deeply glad that you and Crowbar got to meet. That you two got to meet because you both love collecting consoles and those things. Also, love from here, Pekarin. Deeply appreciate your company and thanks for for the for a long chat. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Pekarin, to you as well. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are all absolutely amazing, incredible. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. Well, maybe, yeah, have a great weekend. And, well, maybe we can stream some other day because we streamed few times, not a lot yesterday. So maybe we can do that. Something like that. But at any rate, put together the ice key from a workbench and go to... Okay, we have to assemble the key. And thanks always from the bottom of my heart for all the amazing stuff that we debate on stream. And the patience as well. The patience, because I know that some of the things that I talk about, they are quite complex, and basically they are not for everyone. Indeed, so yeah, pretty much it's quite unique form. Okay, people. Okay, people. I need a workbench. I need to put together the ice key. Where's the... In terms of the analysis, people, as I've said today, we've analyzed the graphics of Drakensang Online. As a general wrap-up conclusion, it has a lot of impactful animations. I think they are pretty well designed for 2010. They are pretty well designed. I would have changed the animations of the Fireball, for example, having a 3D model there rolling for a full bloom beam of fire in that sense with the shape of the fireball. So I have to assemble this ice key. There we go. And get to the ending there. Okay. In that sense. Right there. Okay, and now we get to the final boss fight. I presume it will be put together the ice key and fight the ancestral warrior. I presume it will be the last. We are getting into the boss fight of the zone. So yes, people. Basically, the graphics, the topic of analysis of today. As a conclusion, as a wrap up, unlocked frame rates, unlocked resolutions, following the formula of South Korean MMORPGs like New Online. This one was developed in 2010 in the case of Drakensang. And in that sense, the impact, the psychological correlation between the player's projection in his mind of the spells, of how the spell animation should work, the icon description of those spells, and the final animation execution, the triple correlation is properly done. The spells feel exactly like they are described and how the player projects them in his mind. And the impact animations are well executed, but let me show you once again the fireball here in the conclusions as well, so you can see that 3D model rolling, for example. I think it's a huge mistake that they should have updated it. Even back then, you can have examples of isometric action RPG games in which you don't have a 3D model rolling like that. It would have been much more realistic if they just created a bloom source like this with the shape of a fireball. As the examples that we've cited today, as I've said, mods of World of Warcraft have fixed this, eliminating the 3D model and just having the bloom source of the animation with the shape of the spell that you want to execute. And they worked with a game from 2004. This one was released back in 2010. So if modders could improve the impact animations of a fireball in a game from 2004, then the studio behind Drakensang could update the animations in all of this time of having fireballs without that 3D model rolling. For example, as a random example of the ideas of the graphics that they could have improved in that sense. Giant Cradle of Frost. Enter the Cradle of Frost. Oh, it's boss fight time, people. It's boss fight time. It's boss fight time. It's boss fight time. It's boss fight time. Okay. So we got a boss fight here, people. Alright. What's this one? Arslan. No boss? I'm Arslan from Yattlpelt. I've been here before in a dream, but there was this lake. A much prettier one. Cold, white stuff all over. Just perfect for sleeping and sliding. Now it's all gone. Oh, I see. It's called ice. Why don't you have any fur? You're in search of something. Me too. I'm in my dream. I cross a bridge exactly in this spot, but there's nothing here. I really need to get there. The guards need to be taken down. Can you help me, Rizzo? I was expecting a boss fight, honestly, here. Maybe then District can give me some info about where's the boss fight of this region. In that sense, because by now it's boss fight time. By now it's boss fight time, people. By now it's boss fight time. In that sense. Let me grab a bit of water. Let me grab a bit of water. Let me grab a bit of water because with this, my throat is absolutely killing me in that sense. Then I have to watch I have to see Crowbar's pictures over at Discord with his collection. In that sense. Okay, let me grab a bit of water because with this flu, my throat is killing me. Give me a sec. Just one sec. We'll progress right now. Give me just one little sec because my throat is killing me. Just one sec. Stupid winter, fortunately, is about to be over here. I feel bad for all of you that you will have to get through the winter like I did with 2 flus like these, people. For now. Let's hope I don't get a 3rd one. Okay. Wrapping up the analysis of the graphics, I would say as a conclusion, quite good for 2010, but not properly updated. I would have expected the graphics to be updated much more by now in that sense, and it looks as if they only cared about the resolution and the frame rate, which are good, absolutely amazing that the game has unlocked resolutions and frame rates, but for example, the textures could have been updated, the lightning sources, the sources of light in the game, as I've said, the models for some of the attacks in that sense. As I said, having a rolling 3D model for the fireball could have been updated as it was for World of Warcraft by modders. I'm not talking about people professional developers even in that sense. And with some mods you can make sure that World of Warcraft replaces the 3D model of the fireball with more bloom and the shape of it, so it's more much more realistic in that sense. So if I had to highlight those positive aspects, positive traits, the game does feature unlocked resolutions and frame rates, the triple psychological correlationship between what the player projects in his mind about the animation of the spells, the icon description here in the tab, and the the final execution of the animation in the game, I think that triple correlationship is properly executed, so the spells act cohesively in their animations according to what the player may preemptively expect in his mind, in that sense. So, that is a positive trait. Unlock frame rates and resolutions. And as for the negative traits of the graphics category of the analysis, as we've already analyzed the gameplay, the level design, and everything, as for the negative ones, the textures of a lot of the elements in the world are quite outdated. They are quite outdated when they could have done so. And the bloom sources, I would say the sources of light could have been improved. Even by, remember, I'm talking everything by 2010 standards, right? I'm not judging the game uh, with a modern prism. I'm considering compared examples from that period of time. By 2010, we already had Diablo 3 flashing all over the place. For example, just so you have an idea. You sank one of the bridge guards. Wow, do it again and again. We have to sink them all. Otherwise, I can't cross. Something's there for me on the other side. And also for you too. I know it. The shamans say that this place is sacred. Uh, the world is sacred. Yes, sacred too. That's now all and for. There should be no water here, only ice. In my dream, I was standing up there. You have to take down the other bridge guards. Be careful, there used to be guards made of stone. Okay, find a second stone bridge guard. Let's go, people, as I get into the conclusions of the topic of analysis of today. As for the rest, I would say that overall, replying to what District generally asks me about the game, what do you think? What do I think about it uh, in general, more or less? I would say that overall it has an amazing ambience. I love how, let's say, realistic it is in a lot of cases regarding the a Germanic medieval fantasy setting. I love that it has a lot of, as I said, it has a lot of legends related to Germanic tribes from back then, like the Ice King, those things. Like, in that sense, it's not that oriented. It's not that traditionally oriented, like with Greek mythology of Titan Quest, for example, or following, I don't know, Roman legends. In that sense, I love that they were original regarding that. And in terms of the gameplay mechanics, I would say that the I love that as I said, that the physics of Drakensang are quite similar to those of Titan Quest, and that alters the source of the difficulty. That alters the source of the difficulty of the game, which is absolutely majestic. Why? Well, because precisely the fact that you can be surrounded and killed creates a quite natural source of difficulty. And you must be thinking that's a subtle aspect in Razor. That's something that happens in every single isometric action RPG game. No, as I've said, no, as I've said, the idea is that In World of Warcraft, you can walk through enemies. In a lot of other isometric action RPG games, you can walk through enemies. They don't have the physics required to be an entity that blocks your path, in that sense. And that creates a natural source of difficulty, not just a raw damage input. That's one thing that I love. The second bridge guard is destroyed. Maybe those scary creatures smashed him. They are not meant to be here. They can only be here because I think there's something missing. That would explain why all the ice is gone. Something's not the way it should be. We must put the bridge guard back together again. Maybe a blessing from Artaria will help. I know that Pakali Istac's apprentice wore a pendant. I'm sure that it was blessed by the goddess we need. Then everything will be okay. Okay, let's go. We need the blessed pendant. Then. Sorry that I'm drinking, people. I generally don't drink on stream, but my throat is killing me, so I'd rather have that. Okay. As I was mentioning, in terms of the graphics, I would say so far it's average for 2010, but we cannot deny the elephant in the room. The direct comparison I bet you were all expecting me to make with Diablo 3, released back in 2008. Diablo 3 basically was much more. It had a lot of special effects, flashy special effects. So yes, pretty much. There's no way this game doesn't have like better special effects than those, in that sense. Since that Diablo 3, it's indeed like that. Would have created more bloom sources, for example. I would have gone for more bloom sources for an idea, and the textures. The bloom sources and the textures I would cite as examples of things that would have improved the game, and since it's an online game, they could have updated it, in fact, like precisely Diablo 4. Great. Also, the textures, as I've said, in Titan Quest and Diablo 3, even if they are old games, they scale appropriately. That sense. They scale much more appropriately in a compared example. Oh shit. Yeah, I need to remember not to stand on that shit. I need to remember not to stand on that shit because it deals a lot of damage over time. It deals a lot of it. A lot. Okay. Now, here we go. Boss? No. Boss fight, people. Boss fight. Alright. People, the game has been quite the ride, huh? And I still have a lot to do, according to what this trick described. in that sense. I think we pretty much analyzed all of the aspects that it has, huh? From gameplay mechanics to everything. Fortunately, the main quest is still showing. That's the key. That's the key. Fortunately, the main quest is still showing. It's still showing. That's the thing. Okay, yeah. Bad acid deals a lot of damage. See, for example, here you have another fire source that doesn't have the 3D. That doesn't have the 3D model there rolling. So I think it's quite good. Yeah, quite good, quite good. I think this path is a bit more straight, a bit more direct. Ah, and it doesn't have the acid. Look at that. I don't know what's the point of this map being full of acid. Honestly, oh well. Now I'm curious. I want to check out the pics over at Discord of Thor. In that sense. Well, now I feel tempted. Yeah. The torture that it would be. Well, I don't know if anyone would survive that. Would survive Sacred 2 remastered once again. In that sense. Never feel old, people, because of the old games that I describe. I say because of who are saying that he felt old. Because of him saying that he felt old in that sense. Never feel old like that in our spirit. What is it to us? 30, 35, 40 years. What's that? What is that? That's nothing at all. Not like that. Don't feel bad like that. See, this makes no fucking sense. I wish District was here to ask. Hello, this shit. That should do it. Oh yes, I think I pretty much covered all of the aspects. The key aspect of it was the skill tree for me in this game. The fact that it only had one that was like the frost branch of the skill tree having a rotational nature to it, and the other branches not having. The Toltec poisons sully the river once again. You need the purification rune to clean its waters for good. Create one by combining the protective symbol of opal dust and uncorrupted plant, and this healing potion. Okay, we have to combine some thingies. Hmm. Okay, we'll combine the The thing, I don't know how I can traverse through this map without getting poisoned, people, you know? That's an interesting feature that I get poisoned as I walk through the map. As I walk through the map, it's quite interesting. I don't know what they were thinking. What does it provide in general as a solution? What does it add to the gameplay? More difficulty, Eraser. What do you want? An easy game? Not at all. Not at all. But I'm beginning to wonder what's the purpose? What's the purpose of the of making sure that we are poisoned like that I'm poisoned like this? Honestly, in that sense. Okay, here, more or less here. Want to talk us Opal? Holy Opal powder. Hang on. Ah, these shits that I'm looting. No, it wasn't that one. Mystic, it wasn't that one. Mystic orb, there, out. Let me loot that shit. What? Oh shit, inventory full. I'm sick of this shit. Uh, no. No, those are way too expensive. No. This one. This one. Perfect. Perfectly done. Right there. Okay. Okay, people. Okay. Okay. That's it? That's it? Then why was I... You saw that on the map, it showed me several golden question marks all over the place. Mm. Mm. There, well. Well, people. Well. I think we'll leave it here for now. We'll leave it here. It's already late for me as well. Hand over the amulet, the shaman, fetish amulet. Good. Alright, I think we'll leave it here with the journal, having this one, go to the second bridge, and this one. We first have to finish this zone probably to get to the boss. We'll leave it here. We'll leave it here in this beautiful village. In the jungle, to then proceed with it. Okay, people, okay. I wanted to... Oh, yeah. I wanted to thank, of course, from the bottom of my heart today to Pekarin and Crowbar. It warms my heart to see you two remembering the stream after a whole year, without a doubt. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting the channel precisely now that I need to reach an average of 3 viewers to see if we can store the bots for 15 days. We've been unable today and the last day, but no worries. I deeply appreciate your company without a doubt, and we are so incredibly close to it that it's just 2 streams until September 15th. So I still have time. And what I like is that it's right at the... You wanna see them? People not see them. I did 2.8 and 2.9. That's why I say it's a pity. 2.8 and 2.9 in the last 2 streams, in that sense. So that's why I feel so bad. And this one we were probably right there, 2.7, 2.6. So yeah, it's right there at the limit. It's right there at the limit. It's okay. All right, people. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to Pekarin and Crowbar. It warms my heart to see that you are both doing well after a year. Thanks to Patrick at the beginning of the stream. Thanks to Patrick at the beginning of the stream. Always for visiting me at the beginning, Patrick. If you are watching, deeply appreciate it. A lot of love and hope you do amazingly in life, regardless of the books or the training or anything. And if you are watching, love to you all, to you, Patrick, as well, to District, to Jacob, to Ambra, to Phantom, to Flying Energies, to all of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, deeply. District as well, that he drops by the stream from time to time and visits and everything. Indeed, to all of you, precisely, people. It's been my pleasure, and well, I will see if maybe we can play Titan Quest tomorrow. Maybe. I'll see. I'll see because I'm doing like less hours than what I usually do per week. What I usually do per week. So yeah, stupid flu. Fortunately, the winter is finishing, so I won't have a problem with the flu anymore. People, it's my pleasure. See you all next time. Have a great weekend for now. Well, maybe we can do something tomorrow. And deeply thanks to anyone who might have taken time to watch this as a YouTube bot or a Twitch bot in the future. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Love you all. Love you all. A lot of people are also watching the Star Wars The Republic series a lot, so I thank them as well. In terms of the analysis, I have pretty much figured out all of the early game and mid game gameplay mechanics for Drakensang. So basically, I more or less have an idea of what it should be, and it is. And also thanks to Patrick at the beginning for the build, that it has helped me greatly. Thank you, Patrick. You are incredible as well. Bye bye, people. Love you all.